by continuously doing or being in the process of figuring it out, I might not know the answer what I really want to do, but I still know the answer that what are the things I don't know.
Yeah, that's very Gen Z of you, by the way.
Hi.
Hi, Anurag.
Hi Shantanu. This time you called me Anurag.
Yeah, I know. I remember your name this time. Hi everyone, my name is Shantanu Shubham. I am a 2021 pass out. I work as a software engineer too at Intuit, and I previously worked for companies like Amazon and Schlumberger, etc. I also do a lot of teaching on Anurag's platform and on other platforms as well. So I love interacting with students and helping them kickstart their software engineering career. So I remember waking up every day at 6 a.m. and solving mathematics from 6 to 7 and then getting ready for school from 7 to 8, and then by 8 a.m. my school bus was here like honking, please come out, you're getting late, and I'm like, okay fine, I'm just
Interesting.
So, yeah.
What was the reason you had so much of clarity on things back then?
I think I have seen people change their life through education.
Any Toofani memory that you want to share you did in school?
Suppose I asked a question and I asked somebody to can you please answer the question. So let's say a guy stood up. Suppose he said the right answer or wrong answer. The next person I would make stand is a person that guy is interested in.
Oh, so you are
Or
actually
somebody
hitting the entire friend circle. Yeah. So finally,
Yep, finally.
we are doing it once again.
Here we are.
Yeah, hi everyone. So the thing is, every time we wanted to do something or the other happened and we couldn't meet up.
Yep.
But today is the time,
Yeah.
right? So I'll start with the most boring or let's say overrated questions, and that is introduction.
Okay.
So, who is Shantanu? If you could introduce yourself to the camera, to the people who are watching you.
So, hi everyone. My name is Shantanu Shubham. I am a 2021 pass out, and I've known Anurag for quite some time now. I work as a software engineer too at Intuit, and I previously worked for companies like Amazon and Schlumberger, etc. I also do a lot of teaching on Anurag's platform and on other platforms as well. So I love interacting with students and helping them kickstart their software engineering career. So that's how you can say who Shantanu is. Yeah.
Awesome. So this was more like an answer which is giving a bit of background of Shantanu on a career perspective, right? But let's say if you remove the career part, right, at core,
Okay.
who is Shantanu?
Shantanu is optimistic.
And why do you say so?
Because any point in time when never myself or anybody else whom I've known very closely has struck a low in their lives, including my own layoff at Amazon and many other life incidents, personal, professional, for myself, my family members, etc. There's always been one ray of hope that has always driven me forward. Even in the most negative situations, even though sometimes really negative emotions take over me, but the kind of person that I have been is that I would always try to look into the positive side and move forward, because I believe that progress is only forward motion. So optimistic is who Shantanu is.
Got it. I think very interesting. The reason why I say is because I've asked this question to a lot of people, and they really have struggle in telling who they truly are, right? Because this is a question which probably makes you really think, oh, I never thought that way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
I think it comes with more of an emotional connect to yourself.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
True.
So the more you deeper, you put that magnifying glass inside yourself, and the more you do that, the closer you get to your own self. And I think in today's world, where you meet a lot of people and you do a lot of things, but ultimately the only thing that gives us real inner peace is when you really look into yourself and understand who you really are and what you really want.
Nice. Cool. I think what we'll do is we'll navigate this entire interaction in three phases. One is where we go back to the school days.
Okay.
Second is where we talk about the college days. And third is where we talk about the career and what's ongoing right now, right?
Okay.
So the most exciting part, where the actual excitement lies, is the school days, I feel.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just start with that. So I always feel curious in asking this question to people: what kind of student you were back in the school days? It's an open-ended question. I'm not putting any filters to it. But what kind of students?
Yeah, I'll be very honest with you. So I would not say I was a bad student. but I wasn't a very good student either. I'd say like you can say above average. Somebody would score like 80 out of 100 or 75 out of 100.
So that I would, my family won't count it as an above average. They would count it like the best ones.
Oh really?
For them it is like anything below 80, you just have to score 80% and above. You are the best.
That's great, because the kind of classroom I was into, there were people who were really scoring 90 plus all the time. Yeah. So it's mostly relative, you get the point. So yeah, initially I can't say that I was a great student, but I wasn't very bad either. I was always very interested in English and science and mathematics to an extent, but I started to see that I started to degrade a lot in mathematics with the course of time. I could see that a downfall was coming for me in mathematics until the time I was in 9th standard. So when I was in school, I had that CC pattern, which was like formative and summative assessments all combined together, and I used to really be afraid of mathematics. So around the time when 10th standard hit, and I was like, now this is the time when I really have to balance a lot of stuff out. So I started to take this into very strong perspective of how I can really improve my mathematics. I realized that I have to do something in order to, or in the way that I actually practice mathematics in order to improve it, because there has to be something which I'm doing wrong. So I started to do a little bit of time allocation and giving a lot of extra priority to mathematics, only to see that I got so good at it that I would like score, if not the highest, at least second highest all the time in mathematics. And that was one of the turning points in my life, where it made me feel like if I'm weak at something, if I do a lot of hard work on that, I can actually make the tables turn. And that's exactly what happened. So when I was in 10th standard, people would get something called as a CGPA. And during that time, I mean, to be honest, right now it doesn't make any sense to me, but during those days, getting a 10 CGPA in your school was like a dream come true. Yeah, it was like such a big deal. And our school used to felicitate a lot all the folks who would get like 10 CGPA with like an award, and they would have like this award ceremony function, felicitation ceremony, etc. And I really looked up to my seniors when I was in 9th standard, 10th standard folks who were getting that medals and trophies. It drove me a lot, and I was like, I need to get that, and I did get it. So that's how it came out. Then everybody's downfall period comes, which is 11th and 12th. So to be honest, the same pattern followed with me in terms of physics in 11th and 12th. When I ended up my 11th, I could see myself struggling with physics a lot. But then again, I tried to remind myself that Shantanu, you have done this before with mathematics. You can do this again with physics. And that's what I did. And I ended up being the district topper of my district.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So what is actually interesting in this story is you sound more like a perfect guy who's managing everything so perfectly, because back then, being able to realize and being able to do the retrospection to how you are doing, and what are the things that actually not working out, and you need to take a step back, you need to figure out, you need to jot down some plans, some management thing. Feels like you were way beyond your time in the school days, right? Because I remember, I never thought that way. I never thought of a solution. I thought like, I don't like the subject, right? But I think, so since you mentioned about mathematics, right? And then you did some time management stuff, right? So before the days when you were not liking the early days where you hated mathematics, when your graph were going down, how much of the role during this fixing of mathematics hate and love was played by a mentor? How much was it your own decision of managing and allocating time? Like if you can just talk a bit about that, because sometimes people are like, I don't like mathematics because my maths teacher is not good, right? And sometimes it's like, I'm not good in mathematics because I don't give enough time to it. Right? So what was your story? Was it like the teacher, the time, and what was, if you could just...
So I'll be very honest. So initially it was very much like, oh, I don't like it. Or the other way to look at it was, I try so much, but I'm just not good at it naturally. That's the way I used to think about it. But then I just wanted myself to get very good at maths, no matter what happened, So I started to talk to people who were elder than me, and I happened to meet a mentor in my life who helped me with techniques of helping me with math. So I remember in my initial conversations and interactions with him, he would like help me practice math because I had just moved to 10th standard. So he would help me like solve a few things, explain a few concepts to me. And I remember in the very first week of us meeting, he asked me to give a test, and I actually took that test, and I scored really fair marks. Like I remember it was like a 10-mark test, and I was able to score like 10 on 10. And then that mentor told me, your math is not bad. It's just that you don't practice enough. That's exactly what he told me. And I had explained to him my fear of the subject and how I had performed in the past. So he just told me, you're not bad. It's just that you don't practice enough. And that stuck to me in my head, because that gave me like a strong retrospection, like you said, that what he's saying is actually true. That's exactly what I'm doing. So I started to take out a lot of time in order to practice math. So back in those days, we had NCERT books. So those were the books that were taught in our school, and this mentor suggested me to study from another book as well, apart from NCERT. And I remember waking up early day at 6 a.m. and solving mathematics from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. every day before I
was that R.S. Aggarwal or something?
Yeah, he would. So with the mentor, I would solve R.S. Aggarwal, and on my own, I would solve R.D. Sharma. So I remember waking up every day at 6 a.m. and solving mathematics from 6 to 7, and then getting ready for school from 7 to 8. And then by 8 a.m. my school bus was here like honking, please come out, you're getting late. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'm just
interesting.
So, yeah.
So I think that concludes to a lot of questions, a lot of time people have with love and hate relation with the subject, right? Yeah. It all boils down to the amount of time you spend, right? Which is where you decide what is the subject you hate and what is
subject you
like.
And it's most importantly, everybody has their own way of understanding things. Maybe just the way other people got good at mathematics did not work out for me. Maybe I actually did need to take out a lot of time and to give to the subject. Only then I could become good at it. Otherwise, I would always constantly convince myself, I was always very bad at it. I tried so much, but I could just never get good, unless I did not follow those conventional ways and figured out something that worked out for me.
I think very late I realized that I am a slow learner, right? And everything that was taught in the class at that point of time I understood, but then later until I collect all those things back and put it in a notes, right, there was no way I could perform very well when it comes to taking a test, or when it comes to even participating in any discussion happening around the same subject, right? And I had friends who like quickly understood whatever was being taught on the boards, right? Or let's say blackboard or whiteboard, and they were like, chalo, now let's jam and have a discussion and how can we solve it, all of those things. But to be able to solve questions, first what I needed to do is to first understand what is being taught, go back, slowly create a note, think over it, and then now when there are boys who are discussing the problem statement, now you are ready to participate in it. So I think a lot of time we tend to not realize that sometime it's obviously a practice that you need to spend time on, as well as you need to realize and accept that you might be a slow learner. And it is absolutely not bad to accept that you are a slow learner.
Correct.
Right? So you blend it all together, accept you are a slow learner, and you just practice good amount of time. It solves the problem.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think interestingly, 11th, 12th phase is completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So were you one of those people who went to Kota and probably all of those things? How was the 11th and 12th, right?
Okay, I'll tell you. It's a weird story, but I always knew I can't do coaching. Okay. So there were some personal reasons involved, including financial reasons, family reasons, etc. So I knew that coaching is not going to be something that even if I want to do, I will not be able to do it. So I dropped that plan straightforward the moment I moved to 11th. And when I had moved to 11th, which was back in 2015, during those days, the JE rank was calculated as a combination of your 12th standard board percentage as well as your JE rank, whatever you scored. So I entered that phase with that mindset. And by the time I moved to 12th, that policy got changed. So the 12th marks percentage contribution was completely scraped off. And all that we had to do was 12th class, JE main rank, whatever you got. So that was the idea. So when I was in 11th, like I mentioned, I was kind of bad at physics. And I was interestingly very good at math at that time. So maths and chemistry were like on point all the time. And physics was something that I would like struggle on a little bit. But then when I moved to 12th, I started to understand that, okay, I need to do something. And to be honest, every time I felt very hopeless, I would like constantly remind myself about my own progress that I have made, that a past version of myself has done something that I felt was very impossible, but I had done it. So I would constantly remind myself that Shantanu can do it again, and that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. But there's just one difference. This time I didn't have a mentor. The only mentor...
You didn't have a mentor?
I did not have a mentor. The only mentor that I had was my old past self.
Got it.
Okay, so I technically did the same things. I had a book. I would just study it all the time, going to school with a book like this, coming back from school with a book like this. And it got so good that when I would study the same concept in the class, I knew exactly what the teacher is going to say at what amount of time.
Interesting.
So I was like all settled up, everything was in my head, but I'd just not speak a single word.
So I think so many elements which are key takeaways, right? You mentioned about the only mentor you had was yourself. From the past, right? I mean, what was the... How did that sort of responsibility, ownership, realization happen that, look, there are certain reasons where which tells me that coaching is not a place for me to go. But then I really want to work hard and want to get into this. I mean, I have a clarity on what I want to do, right? So, what was the reason you had so much of clarity on things back then?
I think I had seen people change their life through education.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I've seen a lot of people who completely changed their entire story because of education. So not everybody comes from the same background. Not everybody has the same starting line, right? But the only thing is hard work is the key to success. No matter where you do it, right? And the only option that I saw with the help of which I could change my life, my parents' life, was education. And I knew if I don't do this, I don't have a plan B. So I had this constant driving factor in me that was like, no matter what happens, you have to move ahead. You have to move ahead.
Interesting.
Which is why I told you some time ago that the only progress you can make is forward motion. Right?
Interesting. This is so good. I mean, like literally so good, because so many things, like I'm getting flashbacks to so many things. But did you back then had a clarity on what exactly you want to do, or it was just like you are moving forward, taking whatever education is on your way? Like, let's say 11th, 12th is where you start realizing on to what next. Like school is about to get over, right? So engineering or medical, there are so many things.
So when I transitioned from 10th to 11th, I think I still had that confusion in my head if I wanted to do medicine or if I wanted to do engineering. After a very strong dilemmatic phase in my life, I chose to go ahead with engineering. So I came up to engineering, and my entire 11th and 12th phase was all about getting into a good college. So I always took things step by step. I was never, from 11th, I was not with this ideology, I want to work in a great company, I want to be a CEO. I mean, it's great to have those thoughts. It works out for a lot of people. But even if I did have those thoughts, I always felt like having short-term goals and long-term goals. So I started to focus on my short-term goals first, and then overall keep my track in such a way, or keep my motion in such a way that I would be able to achieve my long-term goals as well. Now that I'm an adult, I realize that not everything we plan is possible, but I try to find the best way that I can in order to move ahead in a way that I want.
Got it. At any point of time, what is your take on, let's say, social pressure, or let's say normally academic pressure? Did you feel that back then in the school days? Yes or no first?
Yes, I did.
And how did you navigate through that thing?
I think the biggest pressure comes, it does come from family for a lot of people. I would say I was lucky that my family did not put that pressure on me. That social pressure usually came from school. You'd be surprised, no? I think everybody thought that I would do something great, and when you are on the right path, people will try to pull you down. So one part of me just wanted to show everybody that you can't pull me down. That's it. But the real piece is when you actually do good things, and you just get what you want. That's to be honest, like I mentioned, that when I was in 12th standard, I was able to hold the highest percentage in my whole district. That was never something I planned for. That just happened. When I got it, I was like, oh, is it? That's surprising. That was not something I planned for. All I was aiming for is like perform well.
I mean, clearly shows, rare to find people like Shantanu, right? Clearly shows that you had really things very sorted here, right?
Yeah, yes, I did.
And again, since you mentioned that the reason why you had all those clarity is because you've seen people changing and all things happening.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Any Toofani memory that you want to share you did in school, like the mischievous one, let's say, not about the studies, which clearly shows that you were very studious and very sorted, but anything that you remember or recall that, this was the, ये तो school में मजेदार काम किया था मैंने.
So when I was in 10th standard, I was one of the favorite kids of my English teacher. So he would like ask me like when our syllabus would be finished, and he would like want students to answer a lot of questions, whether grammatical or chapter wise, things that are relevant to examinations. He would like, Shantanu, can you just take that quiz for me? And I would like stand in front of the whole class, and suppose I asked a question, and I asked somebody to like, can you please answer the question? So let's say a guy stood up. Suppose he said the right answer or wrong answer. The next person I would make stand is a person that guy is interested in.
Oh, so you are actually hitting the entire friend circle.
Yeah. Or somebody who's interested in that guy.
Yeah.
So after that, it became such a pattern that after I made somebody stand, the whole class knew who's going to be the next person who's going to stand.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I got pretty. That was such a moment.
I still recall a lot of time when my teacher used to come, and then they used to do these random mock and session, right? Wherein they randomly used to ask people to stand and give the answer, right?
Yeah.
And everyone else in the classroom pretended that they knew answer, and they sat with the confidence just to tell teacher that, I should not be the next because I know the answer.
Yeah.
Right? So figure out someone else who should be the next.
Yeah.
So everyone used to pretend like
Of
the
course,
expression,
I know,
the facial expression was so much so that people would could guess. I think he knows the answer.
Yeah.
Let's not ask him. But then you are hitting the entire friend circle.
Yes, it's not just the friend circle. I knew everybody's insides in the class.
That was not good.
Yeah.
You actually knew the secret of the entire class.
I was like a pop diva that time. I had a lot of hot piping tea kept in a thermos, that I'd give to the entire class during that time. So like if A was interested in B, and if I made A stand, the whole class knew it's gonna be B who's gonna stand next.
Got it.
So it was like that.
Got it. So I think interesting school journey.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I could take away from the entire things you shared is the grit, right? I mean that thing. So I think a lot of things that you mentioned while you were navigating in your school journey is still so much relevant for different phases of life.
In my life. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, interesting. I think after school ends, now is the time where you're looking for college.
Yeah.
What college? How did you end up in that college?
Okay, so I studied from a college called as BIT Sindri. BIT stands for Birsa Institute of Technology. For those of you who's thinking it's Birla Institute of Technology, well, it's not. So BIT Sindri is a state government college which is in a city called as Dhanbad in the state of Jharkhand, which is originally where I'm from. So yeah, that's where I studied. During those days when I entered the college, we had a separate state government engineering entrance examination, which we had to qualify with a certain rank in order to pursue engineering into that college. So during my JEE days, to be honest, I did not score extremely well. I scored lower than what I anticipated, but I couldn't change the result, can I? So I scored I scored a little less than what I had anticipated, and I was just looking out for options. Slowly and slowly I realized that I'm running out of options, and at the time when I did give JEE, I was very confident in what I would get because I had anticipated how much marks I would get. I had like cross-checked with the sample answer sheets, etc. So I had already anticipated what amount of marks I would get, what amount of rank I would get, etc. And because of that reason, I did not even fill up a lot of engineering entrance examinations. I was very dependent on JEE, which is one thing that I think that I made a mistake. I think I should not have been that overconfident on my performance. When the real results came out, it was underwhelming, and it was not that great. So I had to choose in a situation. I had to land up in a situation where I had to decide whether I want to take a year drop or I want to move ahead with whatever option I get right now. To be very honest, the college that I actually studied, it had 2 rounds of counselings. So first round of counseling it happened, and to be honest, I did not even attend it because I was like, oh, I'll get a better college, that's the idea that I had. But then a point came when I was thankful that a second counseling happened. I was thankful that a second counseling happened. I actually went to college and got myself the admission. And I was hoping that in case if I find something better, maybe I'll choose something else. But then that did not happen. So ultimately, what turned out to be my last option is the college where I studied. Okay, so
it's a full circle.
It's a full circle,
yeah.
Right? It's a full circle. So the college that was my last option is the college where I studied. Now this college, I don't blame the college a lot. It was a good place to be. I learned a lot of things about it. And I know for sure that today the reality is very different. But during those days, I think the worst part about that college was the mindset of people who were already studying there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think it was a very derogatory and pulling down mindset. I felt very demotivated as a person in general, not as somebody who is demotivated in his career, who's demotivated in some pursuit that they're trying to do in their career. I just felt demotivated as a person. I felt emotions where I felt like I would not be able to do anything in my life at all. Because there were always reasons, or there were always people, or there were always circumstances that always reminded you that you're good for nothing because you ended up here.
Interesting.
So that's the kind of mindset that I actually was dealing with at that point of time. Very interestingly, I was also very, very, very pathetic at coding. Extremely bad at coding, and by the time I was in my second year, the only reasons why I would even pass is by memorizing code. So we would memorize code, or I would memorize code written in C++. During tests, I would actually just look for the slightest option to copy the code from somewhere else. So my college roommate, he was very good at coding, and I would always lurk out for options to just sneak into his notebook and just write the code down.
Nice.
One day he came up to me and he told me that I will not show you my code. Very bluntly he told that to me, and I felt it was very rude. And he was my very, very good friend, and that was something that I would never anticipate from a person who was my very good friend. And then he told me that the reason why I'm not showing you today is because one day you'll thank me for that. And at that time it did not make any sense, but because I was so pissed off at his action, I really started to study coding by myself. But then even after I did put a lot of effort in C++, trying to understand it, it just never made any sense to me. There was a little phase in my time during my college days when I felt like that I think software engineering is not the right profession for me. People always communicated or commented on my communication skills, and they always told me that I can do something good in the management field maybe. So I was starting to consider career options in that field, and I was thinking that maybe I can do something about it. When I came to my third year, again a mentor's entry happened in my life, and so I'm talking about a mentor, and I'm talking about some self-realizations as well. One of the self-realizations I had is that maybe C++ does not work for me. So I thought maybe why not give any other programming language a chance. So I thought maybe I'll move ahead with Java. So I started programming in Java, and I started to see myself understanding the concept. Suddenly, when nothing made sense to me, things that I was studying, and I was studying from a book, so things that I was studying on my own pace in a way that I wanted, things started to make sense for me. When I was in college, there were literally days when I did not even have a laptop that was robust enough to run Java code on my system. So I remember struggling a lot to get a new laptop, and the moment I got a new laptop, I started to code very intensively in Java on my new laptop on the things that I started from this book, and I started to get a hang of it. By the time my second year finished, I remember enrolling myself for a mentorship class, very much like your Cypher Schools does, right? During those, I wish we had Cypher Schools in those days, but I did get a mentor for myself who started to teach us a lot around machine learning and data analysis. So AI is right now in trend. During those days, all the talks in the whole town was all about machine learning and AI and this and that, blah, 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 data analysis. So that's what I studied. That's when I got introduced to Python as a programming language, and I started to do a lot of AI and ML related activities in that coaching and in that, about that. So he would give us interesting tasks, we would finish them, that would give us a lot of insight on that. So when that entire chapter was closed, I came back to my college, and I felt like now I do understand programming.
This was right after second year, or during second year?
Right after second year. So I started studying Java at the end of my second year. This mentor person came into my life at the time between second and third year. Then I came back to my college with third year, and now I felt like, okay, I do understand coding to an extent. So when we got into third year, we started to explore a lot of hackathon options. So we started to take part in hackathons. I really wanted to take part in a lot of hackathons, and my friend I just told you, who was very rude to me, now I started to make sense out of what he told me, because now that I don't want to copy code from his notebook, I now can write my own code. And that's exactly the message that he wanted to convey to me.
Interesting.
That I understood at a time which was later than when he made that sentence to me. So yeah, I am very thankful to my friend.
So should we call that as a turning point, when your friend didn't show the code and everything?
No, I think the turning point is about to come right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a smaller turning point. Just slight left.
So before we get into the turning point, I want to know, the very early days of your college, right? So the moment you enter, so were you in hostel or?
I was in hostel then.
Awesome. The best thing, right? So, when you join a college, specifically when you are stepping into a hostel, right? You subscribe to the world of freedom.
Yeah.
Right? Because you are now no more staying home. No one is watching you. Right? You absolutely have freedom to, do whatever you want. Right? And, I also relate to the earlier part of your journey where you mentioned about the college, right? It was sort of like the hopeless at the start, right?
Yeah.
Very similar to what I have been through, right? The reason is because people ask me tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, I say I was in a tierless college.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, maybe today the situation is very much better. That's what I see. But during those days, yes, it was a tierless college for sure. During those days, getting a placement was a dream for a lot of people. I dreamt of being placed for a package of 3 lakhs. And I can't believe it that I even failed securing a 3 lakh package, only to secure a job which was way better at the end.
So on the same line, I think back in my college, computer science, there were only 18-20 students in a class which could occupy, or which had the occupancy of, let's say, 100 students. So you even never felt like, you are in a journey of competition, because around you see the faces and you're like, kahan phas gaye, right? And I still remember me along with a couple of my friends, we were trying to figure out a solution of leaving this college and taking transfer to some other college.
Oh yes, right? I did that. And
we read all the possible policies of AICT, inter-college transfer, interstate transfer, and a lot of policies around so we were figuring it out if we can take inter-university transfers or inter-college, like the same within the same university affiliation, some other college, or maybe some other state without dropping a year, right? Because I already had a drop here.
Okay.
The reason was because I went into the Navy and all of those things happened. Coming back, the only thing that when I realized that nothing is going to work out and I have to accept this college, the only thing I had is a freedom, right? Time, right? And I saw that there could have been a situation where, and I really didn't use time in the early days. I didn't utilize the freedom the way it should have been utilized. I mostly spent time sleeping, right? Bunked a lot of classes.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't had any pressure of the attendance. These guys, they always, if you had low attendance, they had an opportunity to get some money out of you, because you were falling short of attendance, 10 rupees per percentage of attendance, and then you used to do a lot of things like that, right? So the thing is, when you realize that you had a freedom, right, since you barely had any hope with what was happening in the college, the important aspect of that freedom is how you use it, right? So were the early days of those freedom, you were like misusing it or not using the way it should have been, or were you like on the day one you were sorted, now that I have a freedom, I need to plan out things for myself?
I was on the first.
So I want to know not the good parts of the freedom.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Because that's how a lot of people start, and then the realization happens little later, right?
Yeah.
So I want to know not the good parts.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So when I just got into college, we were like hot metal It was easy to bend us.
Yeah.
We were like hot metal. And so when you join any college, there are a lot of colleges, societies and clubs inside a college that want you to join them. So they would like to introduce themselves to you, they would like to tell you about them and what they do, etc., and lure you into the name of certificates. Right? It's all about, what will you show in your CV by the time you graduate? Are you just going to show that you just did an engineering degree and you think you'll be employable after that? Do you seriously not want any certificate, etc., personality development, this, that, blah, 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 blah. So I did fall into one of those traps. I did. So they pretended to be a technical society. I think it's fair I don't name them, but they pretended to be a technical society and they gave us very good promises. And I was like, fine, maybe I might be able to take something nice from here. But then the only thing that happened by the time I spent more time over there is how much time I really wasted. I think they really wanted us to be brainwashed people who wanted to just get the job done about things that did not really contribute anything to my personality.
And also it's a money-making businesses for all of these people.
So they had this tech fest that they wanted to conduct every year. Everything was all about that tech fest. Please get likes on my social media page, or why you're not getting more members into the club. I'm like, I'm not a salesperson, and that's really nothing that I want to do with. I tried quitting that place, but it was like a vicious cycle. They would just not let you quit. It was like a toxic work culture, like probably the most toxic place where I have ever worked.
And these were being taken care by the seniors, so you eventually you don't have that much of gut to,
yes. And it was difficult to talk to those seniors, right? The moment you tell them that I really want to quit, they would make you feel like you will just be such a worthless person if you do actually quit. To be honest, I did take back my decision once after I quit. I was like, maybe I should give it another chance, blah, blah, blah. But I think I regretted that as well. So I think that is one place where I wasted a lot of my time. A lot of my very, very, very precious time. And the more I stayed over there, the more they made me feel that I was good for nothing. That's that hopelessness. That's where it came from. So no matter how much I tried, no matter what I did, because I told you, right? Because the only way I see progress happening is forward motion. No matter how forward I went, no matter how much out of my comfort zone I went, no matter what I did, it was still never good enough. That's how they made us feel. I actually did even raise my voice for that. And then they would come up with a statement that, the reason why we actually make you feel bad is that so that you can outperform what you've already done.
Nice. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's such a toxic thing to say. That's such a toxic thing to say. When you'll have children talk about that way to your children, then you'll understand how toxic that sounds. I don't want to demean anybody or anyone like that, but to be honest, everybody who made me and my other friends at that time feel something like that, today all of us are doing better than them. All of us are doing better than each of those people who told us that we were good for nothing.
So happy.
Yeah. So ultimately I did come to a point where I felt like I couldn't take it anymore, and I realized that all the time that I should give is to myself and not to anybody else, or not to any organization, or to anything else. I will only do what I like, and if I don't like it, I will not do it, and nobody can stop me from taking that decision.
Amazing.
So that's what I did, and I was one of the first people to actually take that decision, which was only followed by a lot of other members in the team, to take it so that they could conserve and save time for themselves and actually do something that matters.
Awesome.
So when I got out of that vicious cycle, all the time went into my programming skills development. Amazing. So I again try to remind myself, the younger version of Shantanu, who excelled at math when he couldn't, who excelled at physics when he couldn't, and who is now excelling at programming when he couldn't.
Awesome. I think that's how the introduction to the colleges happen, right? Your first semester and you're having all these fresher party, etc. And you are immediately made to realize all those overwhelming aspects, right? You need to do this, that, and you're running short on time. Just have 4 years, you just need to get out of the bubble and stuff like that. And a lot of people get into the traps of all these things, and then a lot of people, let's say, if they're able to navigate, then things turn out in a very different way.
No, I think at some certain point it's also like brainwashing. Because I saw my other teammates completely brainwashed, and they would not even, they would be ready to fail in a semester to get the tech fest organized.
And even they have a justification to the efforts that they're putting over there, that
I'm doing
shaping my personality.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm doing personality development.
Yeah.
I'll get certificates. I remember the time when I exited that society, the chairman from that society, who was my batchmate, he told me, imagine what would happen when you won't get a certificate.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, just bring a certificate copy for myself, write your name and keep it. Keep 2 certificates for yourself and let's see where our life takes us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the reality is today, like, I have spent reviewing more than in my entire career, I would say, more than some 6, 7, 8, 10 thousands of resume, right? And you would have heard people saying that it barely takes like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, which is very true, right? So thanks to all these online portals that are available, that makes your resume review process little easier, yeah. And I've reviewed so many of resumes, and my attentions are barely on the certificates. Right.
That's really.
I mean, I would not even care.
Yeah.
Right.
Me neither.
I mean, I have seen all those things, and I would not care. So, for all the people who are watching, right, you should know that what really matters is how well you are able to utilize your time educating yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And not getting in any of these non-sense traps and stuff like that, right?
That's true.
So yeah, I think spend time on the relevant things and you see the magic happens. I think I was in a recent interaction to one of the campus, right? And there were certain people who were not serious about studying. And I asked them this question: how many of you want to get rich? Right? How many of you want to become rich?
Everybody rose their hand.
Oh my God! Right?
We want like 5 Bugattis right now.
Yeah. So there was this one video of Warren and Bill Gates having a conversation, right? And I gave them the example, right? That Warren is asking, do you know why, despite how easy it is for everyone to become rich, I mean, the thumb rule is so easy, right? Anyone can access it, right? But the problem is, and he gave the answer that the problem is no one wants to become rich slowly, right? So all of these events, personality development, these create that rush, what do you say, adrenaline rush, right? That this might be the way for you to, become super famous, and the super famous, you become influencer, and you probably get a lot of attention, which eventually maybe at one point of time can be monetized, etc., right?
Yeah, or which might just fade away in some time.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So I think very well, I would say, work on yourself.
Yeah.
And and you see the magic, how you create you yourself. And in that entire session I said, 4 years, just 2 subjects. One is any object oriented language,
and the other is
complemented with the problem solving, data structure, and the other is any development subject.
Yeah, that's true.
4 years, 2 subjects, you can uplift your entire family.
That's true.
And the following generation.
That's true.
Right? 4 years, just 2 subjects.
Yeah, that's true.
You just have to manage academics and you're done.
Yeah.
Focus on the 2. And a lot of time it hits hard to people. It does make sense because while you are in second year of your college, you do realize that the other subject really doesn't make a lot of sense.
A lot of difference, yeah.
And that's how it has been happening. So some people realize and then they DM me that, sir, I mean, there are a lot of things that I talk about while having interaction, but I think the conclusion is have an awareness.
That's true.
And in the time we are so much surrounded by, the noise, it sometimes become difficult to take yourself out. And I think the realization, the reflection that you talked about, retrospection of, talking to yourself is what simply helped.
Yeah. That was the first time in my life when I really realized time is really money. When I look back and I even today I crib about myself how much more I could have done only if I had those 2 years with me even today. Maybe I did not have to work so hard in the last 2 years of my college and after that, in case if only I put my time at the right place at the right time.
Got it. We'll come back to the turning point.
Okay, so let's move to the turning point. So I was just giving you a small recapitulation. So I was just telling you about having a small having a small mentorship around the time when I was transitioning from my second year to third year. So I learned a little bit of Python and a little bit of data analysis, machine learning, etc. So I got really familiar with those subjects. Now, when you become familiar with machine learning and data analysis and a little bit of front end and back end engineering, you start seeing possibilities of building a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right. So I was very interested in participating in hackathons. I remember one fine day, one of my college buddies called me. He's like, Shantanu, we are actually planning to go to a hackathon. So would you be interested in joining our team? Now, this invitation was not just for me. It was also for my friend who actually told me that I'm not going to show you programming from my notebook, who was actually very good at programming during those days. So we both collectively decided, okay, let's go. So we decided to take part in this hackathon, and this hackathon happened in an IIT which was in the same town as my existing college, which was in the city of Dhanbad. Now, all of you might be familiar with that there is an IIT in Dhanbad which is called as IIT ISM Dhanbad. So that college was like 30 kilometers from my college, and we all took the effort of participating in that event. So we participated in a business hackathon as well as a technical hackathon. So I think the first hackathon was the technical hackathon. It was a 24-hour hackathon. And we would get we had two options. Either you decide to solve on a problem that you have come by yourself, or you try to take up our problem statement.
Yeah.
So we decided the option number 2. So we got a problem statement that was chosen by the sponsors of the event. So we were like, fine. So that time the problem statement was something like this. We had to develop an application that would take a video as an input. So the sponsor who gave us this problem statement was also an edtech company. They also had a lot of videos on their platform, and they wanted us to create a system that would take a video as an input, and that would also take a speech as an input. So suppose if you are watching a video which is like really lengthy, but you are only interested in watching a specific part of that video, but you don't know where that video talks about that certain topic. For example, from a data structures and algorithms perspective,
which is what YouTube is doing these days, right? You can like have the sections of
but then what happens with YouTube is that you actually tell as when I actually upload the video, I would tell that this part to this part is this chapter, this is where I'm talking. So we actually had to create at least a small prototype where we would give a video as an input and a speech as an input. Now suppose you are watching a video of data structures and algorithms which is, let's say, 50 minutes long, and you are only interested in studying trees. Now you don't know where the tutor is talking about trees in the whole video. So either you have to like literally do a trial and error in order to find where trees are, or you have to come up with something. So we actually created a system like that the moment you tell what you're looking for, it would translate your speech into text.
Interesting.
And then it would start looking for it in the entire video, and it will give you timestamps. Like, so at 5 seconds trees was said, on 10 seconds trees was said, and then we would cluster it using machine learning in order to understand in what part of the entire video was this said the maximum. So we would cluster it and show an estimated timestamp that maybe from this timestamp to this timestamp is the right part. But only for backup, we also showed 2 or 3 more options that, okay, this and this might also work.
Interesting.
But based on our clustering, we would give the cluster that has the largest number of words said in that time frame. And we would give the starting timestamp and the ending timestamp so that the user can navigate on their video seeker and move to that timestamp in order to see the video.
Amazing.
So that is what we made. To be honest, we were not able to bring that prototype to completion, but we had almost done 95% of it and our time ended. But everybody else was able to track our progress and we won the prize.
Awesome.
So when that prize announcement was done, and there were so many teams that were competing from other IITs and this very IIT that where I was participating, many very reputed colleges, and suddenly people like us who did not even belong to a college that had any tier, it just brought tears into my eyes. Wow, that was so rhyming. that was good. So that's how we actually felt, because it was like a validation stamp on our skills. You know, like when
absolutely.
So that made us feel like, okay, that's really possible. That's something significant that we have done.
I think interestingly, we should discuss this more.
Yeah,
maybe could be integrated in our platform as well.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. We can talk about it. I still have the code. It still belongs to me and my team.
Awesome.
Yeah. So now after we won the hackathon, I'm not sure if you know this guy, Prateek Naran.
I do.
So Pratik Narang came to that college for as an inspector, as for judging this platform, and I remember explaining everything to him, and he was like, "Wow, this is great." And then we won, and then I happened to meet Pratik Narang the second time in Chandigarh University as a jury.
Oh, nice.
For a hackathon in Chandigarh University.
Awesome. So you were co-jury along with him?
Yeah, I was co-jury along with him, and that felt like such a full circle moment. So I just thought the need to bring that up right now. So after we won that hackathon, we were asked to come back after a few days for collecting that prize. So we came, and then the management team, they said to us that the sponsor company wants to see if we can be chosen for interning in their firm.
Oh, nice.
So now they wanted to see if we were fit enough for getting a 6-month internship. So we were like, okay, fine, let's see. So they asked us what field would we want to do internship in. At that time, both of us were familiar with data science and machine learning only. So that's the field we actually suggested. That maybe we can do that in data science, machine learning. But then they were like, no, we want in web development. So they were like, would you want to pursue a web development internship? Now I was a zero at web. My friend on the other hand was very good at backend. So he was like, just do it. I was like, fine. So they interviewed us. I told them I'm not very good at web development, but I had the fuel in me to actually study and get better at it.
Yeah.
So they were like, fine, let's take you guys as interns. So initially we signed up for 6 months of an internship. And the moment we started it, I remember we were supposed to come to Bangalore and start working, but then this COVID thing hit up. So all of our Bangalore plans got cancelled, and I was very disappointed at that, to be honest. So our Bangalore plans got cancelled, but yes, we were still able to do the internships remotely. And in this internship, I think I got really, really familiar to web development. So
and
familiar.
This is where your JavaScript journey starts.
This is where my JavaScript journey starts. That's true. Yeah. Now today, it's like such a full circle moment that I teach JavaScript as my primary subject. You know, even though Java is still my primary language, but I still teach JavaScript as my primary subject. So this is where my JavaScript journey started. This is where I learned React. This is where I learned Node.js. This is where I learned backend in Java and Java development, and I got really, really good at it. So the internship went so well that they asked us to continue for another 6 months. So I remember I continued there for around a year and a month. In order to leave that internship to pursue another internship after a certain amount of time. So that's how it was. So in this period of time, I learned a lot of JS. I learned a lot of Java, and I think I got so familiar and interested in development that I could not even believe that I'm the same person who would run away from programming and who would think that I could never even make a career in software engineering. And today I'm making industry level applications all by myself. And this team was so small. If we were 2 interns and 1 senior software engineer, and this senior software engineer would just guide us, do this. And what I would do is all by myself.
Got it.
So it helped me to look into the coding world from a discovery perspective as well, that in case if I don't know something, how to approach to the problem. To be honest, I was also very lucky to have that senior software engineer as a very good mentor in my life, who installed the idea of how to do development in the first place. She came from a very good background. She worked in a very good company, and she was very, very nice, and she was a very good mentor. I can never thank her enough for putting that ideology of mentorship inside me.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's where my entire development journey started, and I got so good at development, I felt like I can defeat software engineers with 2 years of working experience. I'm not sure if I was good enough that time, but that's the amount of confidence I had inside myself.
So my next question is around the same thing, right? So off the camera, the Shantanu I know, even on camera, it's very easy, right, to understand the amount of confidence and that positive vibe that Shantanu carries off the camera. Or in general, let's say if I have to ever visualize a Shantanu, I always get this picture of strong, independent, positive, confident person, right? So, very rare. What is the magic behind how, the positivity and the confidence that you carry? Like, what is, what is that driving force, or let's say, how did you acquire that positivity and confidence, right? Because I've seen you even if I'm on call with you, right, or even we are having a normal conversation, the energy that you bring on table or wherever it is, it's like literally next level that I've seen, right?
Thank you.
Clearly visible in the sessions that you take, clearly visible in the interactions we are having, and off the camera, I know Shantanu, so it's the same across. What's the magic sauce, or what's the magic, let's say?
To be honest, I think it just comes with the idea that you are already, with the idea of how comfortable I am with myself. I think it has always come that way. So ever since I was a kid, it's not just with me, it happens with everybody. Somebody or the other will always criticize you for something. It can be the way you look, it can be the way you talk, it can be the language that you talk, etc., etc. It can be anything, right? But I think I always had this sense of confidence and comfort in the person that I have always been, and I always decided to move ahead with that. I think the only criticism that I accepted was from myself and the people who really mattered in my life. So I think I'm always very connected to myself, which is why anything I do it with full confidence. I do it with full awareness of what I'm doing. That's why maybe things come out in a very natural order. I think one thing that I've learned over the course of time is that just keep doing what you're doing. You will fail for sure. You will fail. There will be moments in your life when you would just not know what to do next, but still keep doing what you were supposed to do, and then you will reach, if not exactly where you wanted to, but definitely a good place where you'll feel happy.
Got it. I think I share the same lines and things with a lot of students, that when you actually don't know what to do, keep doing what you are doing, and what needs to be done at that point of time.
Yes, right?
Yes,
exactly.
Because the secret to reach to a point where you know what you want to do lies in the process of continue doing what you're doing, right?
We all know Yuvraj Singh, right? And I'm not a very big cricket fan myself, but Yuvraj Singh faced lung cancer, right? He must have felt a moment in his life, now what?
Correct.
What to do next? But even today, when we look into matches that are played by Yuvraj Singh, even after his lung cancer, they're still mind-blowing and jaw-dropping, right? Why? Because he just kept doing what he was supposed to do. That's just it. That's the sauce. That's the sauce. It just comes with how well you know yourself, and I think that's what really matters.
Correct. So I think I share this concept a lot of time with students. The concept is sorted and sorted, like what kind of person you are, right? And if you are an unsorted guy, right, which I am, right?
Okay.
Sorted people are the ones who really have a clarity of life. Unsorted people, self-doubt, not giving enough time, always questioning their decision and all of that sort of things. But I think the beauty of being unsorted is you are constantly in the process of, this is not for me, this is not for me, this is not for me. That constant process of figuring it out, right? You keep doing it, you would reach to a point where you would realize that maybe this is something that I need to do. But if you don't, you'll mess up. So by continuously doing or being in the process of figuring it out, I might not know the answer what I really want to do, but I still know the answer that what are the things I don't know.
Yeah, that's very Gen Z of you, by the way.
so I think that's exactly on the same lines you said. I knew, I need to do it, and I continue doing things. So that does make a lot of sense and connects the dot, to a large extent with everyone, in general in life. A lot of time, so when you sit in a classroom, right, there are some sort of people who are able to do things, they are able to achieve things that they've always dreamt of and thought of. And there are sort of people who are not able to do it, right? What according to you is something that plays an important role, that someone sitting in the same class, learning from the same teacher, spending time with the same set of people, same roof, same life, same oxygen, same water, same mess ka khana, right? What is that thing that makes or differentiates people who are able to do it and not able to do it?
Okay, so you might have noticed that for some people, some things come up very easy. I have always believed in the concept of that some people are just born geniuses. I've seen people like that, and I totally believe in that concept. But I don't think it sidetracks from the idea that person who is not born genius cannot do things that geniuses are doing. You can also do it. And I think for anybody who wants to make the cut, for anybody who feels like they're not that genius but they still want to do it, I think there's this one line that fits everywhere, and I don't think I'm one of those geniuses. I certainly know it. I know that for sure. I know it for sure. I'm not one of those geniuses because I've seen them and I know how they operate, how they think, and I'm not that person. I am not, and I know it. But even in that case, what I've seen working for me and what I've seen working for other people like me is that this is one phrase my grandfather used to make. I'm pretty sure he's quoting it from somewhere, but that quote said something like this, that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's what we all have.
We'll go to the same line, but this time a little slower.
Okay.
Because this is something that you need to feel it.
Yeah. So it goes on like this. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So yeah, maybe I was not talented, but I was hardworking for sure. And for anybody who wants to do things and they think they're struggling with something, that struggle will end with that hard work, because that's the way it's supposed to end. There's no shortcut, there's no magic, there's no voodoo that you can do. There's just hard work, and that's the right way to do it.
So well put. I think the very same thing that I share with students is please don't get into the traps of smart work.
Yep.
Right? It is always hard work.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of time people are, doing a patchwork, but they are calling it a smart work.
Oh, just tell them the example of taking steroids while you're gymming. They would know exactly what wrong they're doing.
Yeah. So I think, I always tell them that a lot of time you're confused. Someone has done so much of hard work that it might appear as a smart work to you.
Yeah.
Right? But it is not a smart work.
Yeah.
So please don't get into the traps of, adapting to the smart work concept. And, always, work as much as hard as you can, because there's no substitute.
Yeah. One more thing that I've seen is that a lot of students, even today, even during my time, I think everybody wanted a lot of things served to them in a plate. Like if something worked for him, oh my god, it should work for me as well.
Yeah, correct.
I think that's an idea that I think people should start to abandon at this point, because something works for somebody, but it might not work for you. I think people today don't want to do the hard work or smart work of identifying what works for them. They just want a well-made, already prepared model that just works one size fits all approach, but it doesn't work like that.
I have a question towards it, towards the end of when we are proceeding towards the end, but I think it's exactly the same way people are going to everyone and asking for the roadmap.
Yeah, I know, right? There is no roadmap. It's like saying, can you give me a map of how to go to home?
Yeah.
But then it depends where your home is.
Exactly.
Right? It depends where your home is. It depends where you're starting from. I can tell you what works out for me. I can tell you what works out for most people, but then it might not 100% fit for you. And to be honest, it should not 100% fit you, because you have a different style of learning which you will have to explore by yourself. For example, I think I did tell you about my learning approach towards Java, which was through a book. Now, of course, it's
At
text.
first? Head first, or was it something else? Java? What book was it?
No, it was The Complete Reference to Java by Robert Schild.
Okay.
Or Herbert Schild. I forgot the name of the author. So
usually people talk about head first, right? I mean,
I don't even know about that book.
I hope it's head first, but it is something like that, which is considered to be the R.D. Sharma of the Java. Right?
That book, I inherited that book from my sister.
Okay.
So she had her name written on it, and I just wrote on that book, followed by Shantanu Shubham. Now it's like a memoir. I would never want to replace that book with any other copy of the same book, with the same edition.
Like what I have with the APC, the one that, so I studied, for the first time I got introduced to Java was back in my school days, in 9th grade. So that book, even in the engineering, is still so relevant.
Yeah, it is. I've seen ICS students being very familiar with Java. That's how my friend was so good at programming, and I was struggling looking at notes from his notebook.
And that, interestingly, I thought I would have to switch to a different book while in the college learning Java.
But it was not needed.
It was not.
Yeah, it was not.
You have everything. You have scanner functions.
You have buffered readers.
You have buffered reader. You have input stream reader.
Yeah, you have IO exceptions.
All the aspects of taking.
I know, right? Yeah.
By the way, scanner is not function. I think it's a class, right?
Scan is a class,
Yeah.
right?
So, I mean, people.
Well, it's Java, everything is a class.
Yeah, I think people who would be like, "Galat bol diya," like, "Abhi comment mein batata hu," just bear with me, right? I think.
Yeah, you can excuse us for this mistakes that we do.
Yeah. Cool. So, I think the interesting part is once you realize that this is what exactly you want to do, right? What was the reason why you kept doing what needs to be done? Like, let's say sometime there's an aspiration that, I want to do this, I want to have this, right? So did you had those aspirational reasons of continue and the coding and all these things you kept doing, right? The problem with the learning or education is that there are these two overly polluted words called consistency and discipline, right? Everyone you reach out to, they're always talking about consistency and discipline, but everyone has got the definition of consistency and discipline in a very different manner, right? Some people think consistency is waking up and at 7 in the morning and doing the same thing again and again. Some people talk about consistency, you don't have to wake up every day and do at 7. Even 3 days in a week waking up at 7 and doing is also part of consistency. So there's this overly used of consistency and discipline, but when it comes to actual implementation in life, the concept, it's very different, right? It's very different to adapt discipline, it's very different to adapt to the concept of consistency. But I think the people who have done it very well had something going on behind their brain. Let's say it could be the aspiration, maybe being able to visualize where they want to be. And the byproduct of that visualization and aspiration was they inherited the concept of consistency and discipline.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So how was it in your life?
Very much like you said it.
So I have given the answer.
Yeah, you have.
So what was the aspiration or the vision that you kept you pushing?
I'll tell you from the start. So I told you this mathematics story, right?
Yeah.
The aspiration there was to become better at math, so that I could go to the stage and collect that award that I saw my seniors getting.
Yeah, but I think the point is once you do it, you're done with your aspiration.
Yeah. So you get a new aspiration.
Yeah, that's the exact thing, right?
Yeah, you get a new aspiration.
Because getting aspiration again. And again working turns out to be boring a lot of time.
It's not boring.
That's exactly what I want to understand.
It becomes challenging.
Yeah.
It's very fairly said, right? Even it's not difficult to get rich. It's difficult to be rich. Yeah. It's not difficult to become a king. It's difficult to stay as a king.
Awesome.
Something like that, you know? So it's not difficult to, it's not easy either, but it's not very difficult to achieve your aspiration. It's difficult to stay aspirational. That's the main key. It's not difficult to go to the gym. It's difficult to exercise daily. Yeah. Right? It's not difficult to cook for yourself, but it's difficult to cook for yourself every day. That's the main idea.
The continued process.
The continuity, That's the more challenging part. If you're somebody who's at school, it's not difficult to be a topper, but it's difficult to stay a topper. Because you'll have to always study, it's like that. Yeah. So I think the same thing goes up with me as well. So I was constantly aspirational. I always knew what I wanted to do next. There was a phase in my life when I constantly wanted to prove other people wrong. And I think that was the reason why I was able to be driving and fetching aspiration from my life. Like, oh my God, these people say that I can't do this. Now I'll go ahead and I'll do this and I'll show them that I can do this as well. Now the situation is very different. Now I'm like, I'll do whatever the hell I want. But anyway, so during that time, I think I was able to maintain an aspiration. When I was in 10th standard, I was like, I want to go to the stage next year and collect that award, which I saw my seniors collecting, so that I can be on the other side of the table. When I went to 12th standard, I wanted to be good at physics so that I can score better, which might increase my chances of getting a better college. When I got into college, I really wanted to study so that I could get a better job, so that I could make things different in my life and my family.
Uplift the entire...
Right. So it was not easy for me. It was kind of very challenging. And like I told you that there was a phase in my time when I felt like software engineering is not the right choice for my career. But then even if I did want to do something other than software engineering, I would still need to get a job and get a few years of work experience in order to move ahead in my life. So I was scared. Sometimes fear also becomes a driving factor. Sometimes fear also... I was scared And I was like, everybody is doing better than I am. And I used to be this person who was able to do this, who was able to do this, who was able to do this. Why am I failing in my life suddenly? What happened to me? And then I started to self-retrospect about all the things I'm doing wrong and just correct each of them one by one. And that's exactly what I did. Now, after I was able to fetch that internship, I got good at development. I started to work on my DSA skills. I got better at DSA. Then I found a job which was paying me way higher compared to my college standards. When I went into the job, I was happy. But again, in 3 months, I started to feel aspirational again because I felt like, what if I can do XYZ? And then I started working towards XYZ, and then I got it. Then when I got that, then again, your life has to move ahead. When you move ahead in life, then is when you start to realize, okay, this can also be possible. And only then you start to move, only then you start to do things, right? So remember the time when we were at school, we would like dream about earning money. I mean, iPhones have always been like a luxury thing to own, right? Yeah. I mean, I would imagine myself like having 1 lakh rupees and then maybe buying an iPhone. I would like lurk out for ways how to earn online money, etc., etc. And then just dreaming that maybe one day if I have 1 lakh rupees, maybe I'll buy the most latest iPhone and own it in my hands. But today, if I do have 1 lakh rupees, maybe I don't want to buy an iPhone. Maybe you don't want to buy an iPhone if you have 1 lakh rupees. Maybe you want to, invest it somewhere. Maybe you want to put that money somewhere else, because today your priorities are different. Today the things that you want to do are different. So the only way that we can move forward is forward motion. That's exactly what I'm telling you, right? So when we start to take next steps in our life, we start to understand what else we can do. And when you start to analyze what are the other options that you can do, then is only when you start working hard towards that, and that becomes your aspiration. We don't always have it all figured out. We start figuring things out in our own journey.
Awesome. I think very interesting point that you mentioned, right? When you start earning, when you have 1 lakh rupees, right, let's say, before you were earning, you might had the aspiration of buying iPhone or maybe any luxury item.
Yeah.
But after you've earned 1 lakh rupees, you would rarely want to spend it in like
something
things like iPhone, right?
Yeah.
So, the realization that shifts happen.
Yes.
But I think I want to understand, because somehow I relate, or I'm able to understand that there was something wrong, or there is an interesting story of Shantanu and money, right? Which is somewhere or the other the driving force for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So how was your relationship with money in the early days or college days, right? And if you can talk a bit about that, because in my case, I'm very open to be sharing all of these things. I used to like get 1,000 rupees, let's say, and let's say if I'm asking my dad 1,000 rupees, he would send, let's say, 1,500 rupees, and I used to end up saving it or spending it for around, let's say, 3 to 4 months, 3 months, right? And the hostel and the life that I was living was very affordable, right? I think 25,000 rupees a year, something like that, right? So my relationship with money was not that great, right? Early days, we could afford the education, whatever you want, because in that case, what happens, your dad is like, if it's education,
just take it.
Whatever it will cost, I'm there, right? But for the rest of the other things, it was challenging, right? Very challenging, right?
Yeah.
So I want to understand how was it in your relationship with money and stuff like that.
So I'm the youngest child in my family, and my dad was a mechanic. So it was fairly difficult for my father to educate all of us to this extent. I think my college did play a very big. I think it's all a matter of fate,
Yeah.
I really wanted to do this engineering from this college. I had a few college options that were really expensive that I was crazy about, and I was like, I really wanted to study from here, but then nothing worked out suddenly, right? This college, because it was state government funded, I really thank my stars that I studied from that college today, because that college was fairly very, very affordable. State government college, not a lot of fees, totally possible to study from. My sisters were studying and they funded a lot of my education. by the time I started to intern, I also started to funding into my own education, and that's how I finished my education. So I have seen these days when it was difficult to buy a 50 rupees firecracker on Diwali.
So relatable.
Yeah. So it has been a very difficult relationship with money, that where I've always had a strong understanding of what is its importance, because it can really be a life-changing factor in your life, right? And the most important thing about me was I just want to do something that not only uplifts me but also uplifts my parents, right? I mean, I don't think I'm the only kid in this whole country or in this whole world who thinks like that. Everybody who is a responsible child thinks like that. They just want to do something for themselves and their family, and that's also exactly what I did. I would never ever complain about my dad for not being able to provide that much, because I know from my sweat and from my bones, into my bones, I know it so well that he did more than what he could do for all three of us. So yeah, for me, money has been a driving factor, yes, and I think it's a driving factor in anything that all of us do, whether you want to start a business or you want to not do anything, whatever it is, any decision that we take, I think money plays an important role into that decision making activity. So yeah, I think money did play an important role. My relationship with money is that it's a life-changing thing, but it should be utilized well, and we must respect it.
Awesome. Very well. You mentioned about 50 rupees firecracker affordability.
Yeah.
I remember that the unaffordability led me to creation of this answer that I would like to enjoy Diwali eco-friendly.
Oh, high five on that.
I am a eco-friendly supporter. No noise pollution, no air pollution.
Yeah.
But the real reason was something different.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I started to pretend that the real reason why I don't do this is because I'm against pollution, air pollution. This,
and
that.
I'm like, my mom and me having discussion. Let's say you bought a 50 rupees firecracker.
It's literally
and you
putting money
exactly
on fire.
Burning it. Yeah.
I know, right? Exactly. That's exactly what my parents would also say. But today I feel like it's not even wrong.
Yeah.
It made sense.
Correct.
But then we had to kill the joy as a child inside ourselves to make that decision.
And we had to give some reason.
Yeah. Yes. So I don't think that I have ever, made use of firecrackers ever since like more than 15 years now.
That reason makes sense now.
Yeah.
Now that we are earning.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I think I tell the same thing to people, students specifically, when I am interacting with them, that boy, you need to accept it that money is very important.
Yes, it is.
And anyone who says कि यार तू पैसे के पीछे भाग रहा है, पैसा हाथ का मैल है, etc. Please stay away from them.
Not everybody is bunny.
Yeah.
Not everybody is bunny.
Yeah.
Not everybody's life is ye jawani hai diwani.
Yeah. So I completely tell them, please stay away from such people.
Yes.
Who says पैसा हाथ का मैल है.
Yep.
And if they don't listen to you, or if they're trying to super hardly convincing you in the process, take them to the hospital, ask them to give some mail, and let's see if the hospital will accept it. Right? So I think no matter if you are accepting it or not, but eventually when you step in and you take the responsibility, it is all about money. And I think this. Have you seen Nitin Kamath or Nikhil Kamath? Someone sharing a post that majority of the Indian families are one hospitalization away from bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's also true in America.
That makes so much sense.
That's also true in America. Yeah, and it's so true. It is so true. So true. I literally lecture my mom every day to do some fitness activity so that we don't get to that verge.
So I think just something which I'm sharing out of the conversation that we are having, that if you can afford, make sure you have a health insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Especially for your parents.
Yeah.
Because if you're working, your company takes care of your insurance.
Yeah.
Pay extra premium, ask your company to do their health insurance as well. But you should always have your own health insurance as well. For your parents, if not for yourself.
Absolutely. Totally. Right. And, moving forward, I think this question is more around trying to understand Shantanu, who is navigating in the journey of acquiring certain skills and knowledge. So a lot of time I'm often asked this question, right, by people sir, please suggest which is the best programming language. Should we choose Java versus C++ versus JavaScript versus Python? What should we choose? How should we start, etc. Right? And they're always searching on the internet the best programming language.
Yeah.
So can you pull up the curtain and give us the reality check on what is the best programming language to start with? Or
suppose you go to a market, you want to buy a two-wheeler, maybe like a bike or a scooty. Is there now there are so many options available. Again, you ask what is the best scooty, what is the best bike. Everybody has a different answer.
Yeah.
Everybody buys a different bike. Some people buy KTM, some people will buy Shine, some people will buy Hero Honda, some people will buy Unicorn, etc. Like too many options are available. But still, everybody makes their own analysis. Everybody decides what's right for them, how much they can spend, etc., 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 other error factors, and then they decide what's right for them, and that's what they get, right? So maybe let's say Shine is the best bike for me, but Royal Enfield can be best bike for you, and that doesn't mean that Shine is a bad bike, and that doesn't mean that Royal Enfield is a bad bike. Both bikes are right. It's more suited to our requirements, right? That's the same example that translates into the world of programming as well. There are too many options and there's never a right answer to what's the best one. It depends on what you want to do. Firstly, it depends on what you want to do. For somebody who's straightforward trying to pursue a career into software engineering, and if you're trying to learn your first programming language, then I would say maybe start from C++ or Java. But it's just a suggestion. That doesn't mean that if you start from any other programming language, you will lag behind or you'll have to face consequences. It's not like that.
People are so much scared with Java.
Yeah. But trust me, all that hype is waste. I love Java. Imagine somebody who has studied C++ and was really scared of it was only able to find peaceful programming after learning Java. So Java is not scary. It's just that you have to write long syntax code. But the only reason why it's like that is so that you can understand what's happening. Java is a friendly language. In case if you want to study Java, please go ahead for it. There's no reason to be scared. I would say if somebody is trying to learn their first programming language, I think C++ or Java is a good option. But at the same time, you can choose to move ahead with Python or JS as well. If you ask me industry reliability about what the industry is using right now, I would say JavaScript is one of the king languages right now. It is one of the languages that is ubiquitous or omnipresent. It's like a mosquito. This is one example I tell to everyone. No matter where you live in India, you'll always find mosquitoes, right? Exactly like that. No matter what company you work for, you'll find JavaScript. Amazing. It's like an unescapable programming language. You may not be working on JS, but somebody in your team or somebody who's using what you are creating is using JS. So one way or the other, JS is going to interfere in your life. So JS is also a great programming language and it is very much used in the industry. Java is also one of those programming languages, very, very well used in the industry. So learning Java and JavaScript can be very good additions to whatever programming language you know. So whether you start from Python or JS or Ruby or Kotlin or any other programming language, I would say by the time you have gotten very familiar to whatever programming language that you're using, try to see if you can spare some time to learn JS or Java. And one very big takeaway that I'm going to give you right now is that JavaScript and Java, they are not similar. They are not alike. A lot of people have this confusion. Yeah. And I've always had this very amazing example that Java and JavaScript, or JavaScript is to Java like the way carpet is to car.
A lot of people talk about, the land and the sky. That's the difference between Java and JavaScript.
No, it's like car and carpet. There's no relation, right? It's like that, car and carpet.
You don't have to put the carpet in the car, right? Right?
Yeah. So it's like car and carpet. It's literally car and carpet.
Awesome. So I think a lot of time, what we usually end up doing is, going on an internet, searching for the best programming languages, and trying to pick up one. So and I also tell a lot of students that, hey, look, internet will give you the result what you are searching for, right? Not what is right or wrong. So make sure if you can probably look into the details of the result, you will sooner realize that each of these languages have their own
pluses and minuses.
Yeah, pluses and minuses. Yeah. Also, they are used for certain things, right? Yeah. Let's say if you are planning to build your career in machine learning, maybe like the Python would be the relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe web development, the JavaScript would make more sense.
Yeah.
So, all of these languages are good at their places.
Yes.
Maybe you can try experimenting as well, but as what Shantanu mentioned, figure out by yourself. And if there's a recommendation, CPP or Java is something you can start off.
If somebody is very new to programming, I would always suggest start with CPP or Java. These are the best options you have right now. And then the best part about these two languages is that they really help you understand programming as a concept. These are not languages that will just let you do programming, where you can give instructions to a computer and it's just going to process it. It helps you understand what you are doing, what you are saying to the computer, so that you understand first what you want to say and then you say it. Okay, it's like that. For example, suppose if somebody is trying to learn a new language, like for example, I just moved to Bengaluru and I'm trying to learn Kannada. So understanding and speaking a sentence because you know that this is what to be said are two different things. So that's exactly the difference between, or that's exactly the advantage that CPP and Java is going to provide you. You will know exactly what you want to communicate and you will be able to communicate exactly what you want to communicate. And this is one very big advantage you will get after learning CPP or Java. This is the reason why I usually prefer or suggest students to start with either of these two languages. You can also do both if you want to, but one of them should be your primary language is what I would always suggest. Like you might have a mother tongue of a spoken language you speak, right? It can be English, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, it can be anything, right? Just like that, whatever programming languages you know, it can be multiple languages, but try to keep one programming language as your primary programming language.
Got it. Amazing. One question that I recently visited a campus, right, wherein a bunch of students sitting. And the common question is, what is the hype or why there's a hype of data structure algorithm, right? So if you can unfold the hype of DSA, like why one should. First, should one, even choose to spend time DSA or not? If yes, why? If no, why? And what is the intention of DSAs for a lot of these companies, talking about data structures, algorithm, etc. So what's your take on the hype of DSA? Is it all worth it? Should one do it? Should not? And if yes, why? If no, why?
Okay, so it depends on what you want to do, first of all. Like for example, if you want to be all into machine learning and data, if you just want to do machine learning, maybe DSA is not very relevant for you. So it depends on what stream of computer science you want to get into. If you want to be into software development, any facet of software development, DSA is going to play a very major role. So all that hype is worth it, absolutely worth it. Even as an experienced professional, if I switch my job, let's say 1 year from now, which will make me have 4 years of experience, I will still have to give interviews of DSA. So what makes people think that coming straight out of college will they should not be expected to do DSA. So whenever we talk about DSA, what do we state it as? A DSA test is basically a test for your logic. How can you think about writing code? And ultimately, as a software engineer, you have to write code only, right? So you have to think about how a computer works. You have to think about what algorithm you can use in order to make the computer work in an efficient fashion. Just a simple thing. Suppose you want to be an IAS officer. Okay. You have all this administration of a district under your control. Correct. Now you have a few responsibilities and you want to fulfill these responsibilities in an efficient manner. Maybe if you see that a certain task is going to take 10 days of time, you will see for ways if it can be done in less than 10 days of time. That's exactly what we engineers do, right? And that's exactly what is expected for you inside data structures and algorithms. As a college fresher, this is one of the nicer ways to test students, is that every student comes with a different background and every student is good at something else. Data structures and algorithms become a common field, a fair field where everybody can be judged in a similar fashion. Very much like when you want to pursue JEE, you write physics, chemistry and maths, right? Now, what if I want to be a biotech engineer? I don't have to really worry about physics and chemistry, but I'm still writing the exam because it's fair ground. That's what.
That makes sense.
It's fair ground. So DSA will and is very relevant. It will still be very relevant when you will graduate. It will still be very relevant when I have 6 years of experience and I'm interviewing for any role.
So very similar to like the government jobs have aptitude tests.
Yeah.
For a private, you have the subject like DSA,
Yeah.
which is a way to evaluate on the fair grounds.
Yes. So you might be very good at development, and trust me, it's not a skill that is going to waste. It will definitely add a lot to your portfolio and as well as your interviews. But DSA is going to be, like I said, a fair ground. So everything you know in DSA is going to give you a lot of help when you have already joined a company, or maybe when you've already cleared your DSA rounds. But DSA rounds will happen. So you must focus on DSA to your absolute maximum priority. It's like that compulsory English subject in your board examinations. You just can't escape it. It's like that.
Awesome. And I think following to that question, a lot of time I get asked about, sir, what subject should I choose or what should I pursue for my career? Should I go with full stack? Should I do machine learning? Should I do data science? And then there's also a follow-up question on that, which one has the more opportunity available, right? So there's always this confusion, right? Because after a point of time when students realize that they have started their DSA journey, they also realize that there's a development that needs to happen, right? They need to choose something as a development subject, right? So full stack, machine learning, app development, data science, and so many things happening, right? What would be your advice to people who are asking these questions to you?
Okay, so again, it depends on what they want to do, first of all. Second, it depends on how much effort they want to put into fetching a job. So I'll tell you an example. So suppose if you are studying in any college, suppose you're a student and you have this confusion in your head. Now let's say you are somebody who is interested into mobile application development, but you still want to ask me this question. So you have to evaluate if doing mobile application development is going to make sense for you. And now how would you evaluate that?
Exactly.
You would want to, let's say you know a little bit of mobile application development. So if you want a job into mobile application development, you should look for companies that actually are doing mobile application development. Now, are these companies coming to your college? Maybe yes, then you have a fair chance. So yes, you can go ahead with mobile application development. If no, are you able to create a network, or are you having any sources that can help you interview for those companies that are really good at mobile application development? For example, ByteDance. ByteDance, the parent company for TikTok, it has a lot of mobile application engineers. Swiggy, Zomato, right? All these Make My Trip, Paytm, PhonePe, all of these companies have a dedicated mobile application development team. If these companies are coming, or any company is coming that is hiring engineers from your college or somebody whom you know who can put you into mobile application development field, then doing it is fair choice.
Got it.
If you're not sure about what to choose, look into your college's placement history. Look into what are the things that are going to make sense for you that can give you possible career options.
But the problem lies in the problem lies in understanding or realizing that my campus placement of percentage ratio and success rate is 0. So I would have to put a lot of effort outside the campus, off campus, right? And when you go off campus, because while you are in the campus, and let's say if you have a good on campus, the problem is solved, right? Because most of the time the campuses would know based on the history, and they would prepare you, they would guide you accordingly, right? And on campus, most of the things revolve around data structure algorithm, right? But what about off campus? So student life, what happens is I'm trying to look for an options which is more secure, provides me accessibility to a lot of things, right? So off campus, I'm worried. Like, let's say if I choose data science or machine learning on campus, will I still be relevant off campus? Right? Will I get the opportunity if I'm not able to grab one on campus, right? So there's this constant fight in the head that is going between choosing a subject which is not just relevant on campus but also off campus.
So when you do off campus, you have limited opportunities. That's bitter truth, and you have a lot of competition that you'll have to face. So there will be some things that will become very difficult off campus. And usually when you are looking out for opportunities off campus, for example, let's say, suppose Amazon comes to your college, for example, and suppose you could not get in due to any reason, can be anything. Now you want to apply for an SE1 role in Amazon. now they will want they will want to hire an experienced professional on campus, or sorry, off campus. That's what they'll want to do. So most companies want to hire people who are already having some amount of experience in the field that they're hiring for. As a fresher, you usually won't get a say in order to decide what you want to do. So you might be the best machine learning engineer, but the company you have been hired for on the grounds of DSA, they might not give you machine learning.
Correct.
So that happens, and this is bitter truth. So I think a safer option would be full stack development. It's a safer option, or mobile application development. Very, very safe option, and will land you somewhere or the other for sure. But that doesn't mean that your dream will die. For example, you got into any company as a full stack engineer or just as a software engineer, and you're doing, let's say, something, it can be anything. And if you find that you want to navigate into a different stream, you can always talk to your manager. So every company today appreciates and motivates its employees to move into the field that they're more interested in. So you can talk to your manager about it and see whether you can make the cut. If that does not happen, worst case situation, think about moving to the right domain of your choice in your switch. That's the right way that people actually do it. As a fresher, we don't get to have a lot of decision making in terms of what stream that we want to do. For example, I was very interested in machine learning, right? But I did not get a machine learning internship, and I had to move to web development.
Got it.
Right? So even though I was good at machine learning and data analysis, today I'm a web development engineer. Today I'm a backend engineer who does nothing but web development. Right? So it's all
which is also one of your strengths, I believe.
Which is also one of my strengths today. Yeah. So something I came up with. So I have tried app development, I've tried machine learning, data science, and I've tried web development, and I stuck to web.
But there's this information that floats across the internet and social media, wherein people say, and in fact I've got asked these questions quite often, which is, as a fresher, you off campus, or let's say even if it's on campus, but as a fresher you do not have a machine learning engineering opportunity.
Yes, that's true.
So that's true, right?
That's true.
So you have the answers. So mostly it's data analyst or data analytics that you would go for if you've pursued machine learning, and if you're hired, most of the time you would be working as an analyst.
That's true. So usually machine learning and data analysis, like the name suggests, it comes with a lot of data. Data is very sensitive. Data is a sensitive piece of thing. It's called digital gold, right, today. So data is sensitive, and in order to handle something like as sensitive as data, you need experience. So companies don't really prefer hiring people who would deal with that much intense amount of company data, which is very, very sensitive, with the new hires. Okay, especially who are so new into the industry. That is also true. So machine learning and data science, even though it's a great field, but as a fresher you'll find a difficulty in terms of making the cut, no matter how good you are. So you might have to wait a little bit in order to be very good at it. Some companies will appreciate the effort and will appreciate your skills, but I think in that case you will have to make this very clear at the time of your hiring that I'm looking for something like machine learning and data science. If they can give you that, then you'll move ahead in the process. Otherwise they'll just cancel you out then and there.
Got it.
Usually this happens with mid-scale and smaller scale companies, so they will consider, but big scale companies, they already have plans set in their mind. Sometimes companies will hire you without even having decided what they want to do with you. And after you've been hired, then they will decide what I can do with them. So they will always adjust you according to their comfort level. They will not always consider your comfort. Okay, it's most of the times that we as an employee will have to mold ourselves according to what the company wants us to do, and then find our strengths and weaknesses around that area. So the ball is not always in our court. Like the company will also be like, oh, we hired you on this and that ground, you'll have to do this. If you're not comfortable doing this, either you can just resign or maybe see internally if you can make the cut. If yes, then great. If no, then please go away.
Awesome. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I think the company has this realization that in fact, to the question that we were discussing earlier on the data structure algorithm, the company also has a realization that over the time the technologies will keep changing, right?
Yes.
So the right parameter to evaluate a candidate is data structure algorithm, because that gives them the idea of how quick you would be able to solve problems, your adaptability skills, etc., which does make sense for them to not stick to a certain technology.
I'll just give you an example. So ever since I moved to Intuit, so I've been doing something called as platform engineering, which is nothing that I've done before. It's also a different programming language that I've never coded into before. But at the time of interviews, it was all DSA. They never really asked me anything which was a domain basic, specific to what I'm supposed to do. They asked me questions that were completely related to problems that I would encounter in my day-to-day job, but not technologically specific. And I think that's what really that's what really matters.
Exactly.
That's what really matters, because if I'm able to solve the problem, I would be able to solve it in whatever programming language will give me, because all it needs is a concept.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I think there's this fear, there's this phase, when you have this fear of so many things while you are in your college, right? There's this fear of failure, self-doubt, right? And then all of a sudden everything just appears to be foggy. You question your decision. You are not very sure that how would it end up, right? And then there's also a FOMO, right? Fear of missing so many things. There's this constant performance pressure when you're comparing it with your peers, right? Too many things happening, right? Yet the beauty of being engineers is you still smile and you accept the life how it is. But then I just want to understand what is if you felt the same, how did you navigate, and what would you recommend people who are at the center stage? Like this usually happens maybe late second year or the early third year, when you feel like, oh, my 50% of the life is gone, right? So all of the sudden you start, these thoughts starts bouncing, the doubts, the questions, the fear. Then also you start thinking about your family, your mom, dad, expectation, performance pressure.
Correct.
So many things. Some people are easily able to navigate. Some people, they have hard time. And and I think that is where the turning point happens. Either you make or you break. So if I want to make, how did you do it? If you had the same point in your life, what would you advise for people going through all these thoughts?
I think a lot of these thoughts that you just told me about come with comparison. And the kind of childhood we all, like most of us as Indians, have is that we constantly are compared, or we compare ourselves with other people. That's just how it is. Like aunties in your society are like, oh, my son got this much marks, how much marks did your son get, blah blah. So like the comparison angle has always been there, and I think that comparison angle just matures inside our head by the time we are in college, where other people don't make our comparison, we make our comparison. Even today when I see SE1s joining in, who have freshly joined our team, they're just constantly comparing each other with each other, themselves with each other. Oh, how much, which table are you planning to buy? Which monitor are you planning to buy? Oh, can I also, oh, you got it in this much, I got it in this much. So there's just constant competition, that comparison mindset is always there. And I think no matter where you are in your life, if you compare yourself to somebody, there will always be somebody who's better than you. And that will just never stop.
True.
Today, do you think Bill Gates, or I'm not sure, anybody who's like the richest person in the world, they might also be comparing themselves with somebody else on some other factor, on some other grounds. So as long as comparison will exist, it will kill your happiness. That's basic life mantra. That's not only true in engineering, it's true everywhere. But when I say that don't compare yourself to somebody else, that doesn't mean just close your eyes. That does not mean close your eyes. What it means is look what's happening, be aware of how they did it, and also focus on what's going wrong with you, and then try to overcome. There are many instances where we did everything right, but it still didn't work out for us. But then we also break into those situations, and which is fair, but that doesn't mean that you will not have to gather yourself back together and move ahead again. So that is the thing that I would like to suggest people. It happened with me also. I would also compare myself with other people. So there were companies coming to my college, and I was like, I really want to get into this company, and suddenly when the results are out, my name is not there. And suddenly I'm thinking, oh, how did this person get in? This person was like A, B, C, X, Y, Z. I'm very surprised that this person got in, but then there's nothing we can do about it. So there are some uncontrollable factors in our life, and it's better that we stop thinking about them. We should start to think about those things that we can control and only move forward in that direction. So that is the most important thing, and everything will come to you at its right time. my sisters have always suggested me one thing: things will only come to you when they are supposed to come. If you want them to come to you before they are actually planned to, the impatience will kill you.
Very well. And just add a slight thing, that the time things are coming to you, make sure you have done enough hard work that you're able to seize it.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. So we'll have to, patience is the key in that case. Patience is really, really important. And I think that has really taught me a lot around being patient in general.
Yeah.
So patience is really important. And I think we must wait and also do hard work at the same time, so that when the right opportunity does come to you, you're able to seize it.
Yeah.
And remember, you may lose multiple times, but you have to win only once. You have to win only once. I mean, there are multiple wars that you have to fight for sure. And in the same war, you may lose over and over again, but you have to win only once. So there can be, you might fail in 10 companies in your college, but who knows, maybe you'll crack the 11th one. You may fail, like when I switched jobs, when I got laid off from Amazon, I may be interviewed for more than 25-30 companies. And I made the cut in some companies, I did not make the cut in some companies. Some companies did not even want to interview me at all, no matter how many times I applied. But one company accepted me, which was a company I wanted.
There will always be someone who would accept you.
Yeah. So you'll have to rely on hope as well. You'll have to rely on your patience as well. And you'll have to consistently do hard work and move forward. Which is where that optimistic angle comes from, which is the first line I told you about when you asked me who Shantanu is. And I said Shantanu is optimistic.
I think the entire conversation that we are having might sound very intense to people who would watch, right? But one thing that in this entire conversation that we are having, we might not be discussing that part, but one thing that I want to tell you is, please have fun, enjoy the process.
Oh yes,
right?
Yeah.
It is not always about being so intense about your career.
That's true.
Because one thing that I truly keep reminding myself is the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
We have very limited time.
Yeah.
Right? And there's this roadmap of life that has been created by people around.
Yeah.
Like 20s you do this, 30s you do this, 40s you do this, 50 you do this, 60 you retire, and all of that thing. But what I want to say is very limited time, enjoy as much as you can, and you cannot sit someday and you say, today I'm going to be enjoying it. Yeah, today is the day I'll enjoy. No. That's what happens. Yeah. That doesn't happen that way.
Unless you're on a vacation plan.
Yeah. It's a process, right? Yeah. If you enjoy the process and you keep accepting it, maybe this is how it was meant to be for me. And I'll accept it, I'll move forward and enjoy the process, right? And just be happy.
Yeah.
Things will come to you naturally.
Yeah.
At its scheduled time.
Yes.
Keep working hard and enjoy the life. While you are in the college, you are, I think, in the best phase, the last best phase of your life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. No matter how much you hate your college today, when you graduate, there will be a phase in life where you will reminisce about the great days of your college and you only wish them to come back.
The most amount of stories you would share with people would be from your college days.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
And no matter how much you crave for the time right now in the college, you would later realize that the most amount of time you had while you were in the college.
That's true. That's true.
So don't forget to enjoy your college. Just have fun. And all of these things that we are sharing and discussing is something that comes and something that we have realized over a period of time. This might help you have a clear vision of how things happen, and you might realize that this is how it is.
Yeah.
Right? Unnecessary pressure nahi dalna apne upar.
I actually do want to add one point. So I'm pretty sure it's not only true for my life, it happens with everybody. Everybody has, like, whatever stage we are present in our lives today. Of course, we'll be moving ahead. In a few years, we'll be somewhere else. A lot of things happened in a way that we wanted. A lot of things happened in a way that we did not want. A lot of things happened in a way that was our worst case scenario. And all of us were once in a situation that we could not even anticipate that we'll have to go through. Sometimes we have to deal with bad times, sometimes we have to deal with good times. And we all have our own trajectory in our lives. But one day it will certainly come where you will look back, and you will look back at a younger version of yourself, where you'll remind yourself of how much struggles you had to deal with, and on that day you will just tell yourself that you would not want it to happen any other way, because the kind of person you became because of what happened is the person who you are today, and is the person where you really find comfort and peace with in the life that you're actually living at that point of time.
So you literally answered the other question of mine. I would have to skip it.
Sixth sense.
Right? It is because I was about to ask you a question. Given an opportunity, if I send you back in the early days of your school and college, would you fix it?
I would not want to change anything.
So you have the answer.
Yeah, right? I wouldn't want to change it.
So I am skipping that question, right? And because we always constantly think of this concept, a road not taken, right? Yeah. It was Robert Frost, I believe.
Robert Frost.
Yeah. And we always are like, I wish I could go back and I would have taken some other path, right?
But only if we could.
Only if you could. Even if you could, you would still realize the one that I took was always the best one. So please do not get into the regret trap, because as he already mentioned, even he had an opportunity to go back, he would have not changed anything.
Yeah, I would not have changed anything.
Yep. So good. I think there's one overrated question, right?
Please shoot.
Right? And then there's this question that I would ask. So anyone who wants to get into the software development career, right? Anyone who wants to build a career around software development or wants to become a software development engineer, what is the roadmap?
Well, I'm surprised this terminology has come back to our conversation.
Yeah.
But see, I think no matter what I say right now, what's most important is people choosing the path that works for them. But if you still want to navigate, like, for example, you want to move from point A to point B. Somebody can move in a straight line. Somebody might want to do this. So again, I can only tell you how to move from point A to point B, but everybody will have to face their own challenges, and that's just how life works, right? So if somebody wants to be a software engineer, and I'll just tell you what they can do in the first 4 years, the 4 years of their college life is, firstly, they would want, I would expect them to familiarize themselves with a programming language. That is exactly what we were having a conversation 10 minutes ago also. So a programming language is a must. So familiarize yourself with a programming language, can be any programming language of your choice. Once you're familiar with that programming language, you can start doing data structures and algorithms. These two are the fundamentals that are going to lay the foundation stone of your entire software engineering career. If you don't know programming language, or if you don't know DSA, there is no software engineering career, period. Okay, so start to focus on these two things first. Once you're familiar with both of these two things, you should be practicing DSA to an extent. Maybe try to practice 1, 2, 3, as many questions as you can, but at the same time, don't overburn yourself. Try to stay consistent with whatever number of questions you're solving every day. It's like going to the gym, so once you start going to the gym, you start to lose your progress. So start to focus on your consistency. Try to solve at least one question every day, so that you can keep yourself updated and keep yourself in practice with DSA. Secondly, after this, maybe you can also start to develop some skill around development. So maybe like start web development or mobile application development or anything of your choice, as long as you see it feasible for starting your career. So maybe take some actions around that. Participate in a few hackathons. That can be a life-changing event, like it happened in my case. So that's it basically. There's nothing more than that. Remaining, just have fun. Just have fun. Just have fun. Network with people. Talk to people. Build relationships with them. And you never know when somebody is going to be ready to help you out in a time of crisis. So that's basically it. So just summing it all up: one programming language which you are good at, data structures, algorithms that you're consistent with, one extra development skill that you can actually do, which can be anything like machine learning or mobile application development or web development or anything of your choice, and then just have fun. That's it.
A lot of time I'm often asked about, and people are always running behind internships, right? and they end up doing any internship that they
I've
get,
seen
right?
that.
Even the campus ambassador, the sales, there's so many things.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
First thing is, how important is the internship experience? Is it a deciding factor to hire someone or not hire while you are getting interviewed or while you are in the process of applying and looking for a job? So if you can answer that part.
Suppose you want a house to be constructed. Would you want somebody who washes dishes to construct your house?
Nope.
So all that matters is the relevant internships that you have done, right? If I want to hire a swimmer, why would I hire a runner?
Yeah, makes sense.
It's basically as simple as that. So I see the point, and I have actually encountered students who are asking me, what's the best internship I can do after first year? I'm like, nothing. Just stay home and relax and study. That's all you should be doing. So I would say internships, I mean, you can do internships if you're interested, but at the same time, don't do something that wastes a lot of your time in false promises. So we have already discussed about certificates, and we already know how insignificant they can be. So if you want to do an internship, do something which is relevant to your to the career that you actually want to pursue. I think the right time to, in my opinion, the right time for people to do internships is when they are ending their second year to the time they're ending their college. At any time period in that time, as many internships they can do, they want to do, they can do it. Internships are a good way to earn quick and easy money for you to spend. And secondly, they give you that relevant experience that you need, given that the internship is in that relevant field. When it comes to a deciding factor, the internship number or the internship duration does not become the deciding factor. What really becomes the deciding factor is what you did. Is what you did. So maybe you interned at Amazon as a machine learning engineer, but you might still not make the cut as a software development engineer in a company like Google, even though you did an internship in a FAANG company. But as long as you don't have the relevant skill, you will not make the cut. Same thing goes with the number of certificates. Same thing goes with, you might have the highest rating on lead code, but if you're not able to code, it doesn't make any sense.
So, the decision of hiring, let's say you have two resumes with you, right? One has just the project section, other has the project as well as internship section. Will it create a biasness? Or are you going to treat both of the resumes equally, regardless of one has an internship or not? So
no, I don't think I will treat them both equally. There will be a slight bias towards the internship, and I'll tell you why. When we create our projects, we get to decide our own requirements. We get to work on our own pace and everything. When somebody is working on an internship, of course they're working in a corporate environment and they have to deal with teamwork, right? So you'll have to deal with the challenges of requirements coming that you might not even have imagined, and working it out in a team and learning it the way it is supposed to be done. Also in a project, you don't really are bound to follow a certain standard in terms of development, but in an internship you might be able to, or you might have to deal with some sort of standards that you have to follow in order to do the development. So an internship, it superimposes itself in a better manner in a corporate setting if I'm hiring for an SE1 in my team. Okay, so definitely that bias will come. But again, they did an internship but knows nothing about what's to be done, then what's the point? That's the reason why we'll interview them, right?
So I think the aspect that I want to emphasize over here is when you're on campus, when your hiring process is on campus, the internships might not be the super factor of selecting or shortlisting a resume, because on campus everyone is treated equally, right? And there's a different process. But off campus, it would add an edge.
It'll give you an edge, but that does not guarantee you'll get selected.
Exactly.
So you will always have to prove everything you've written in your resume. If you wrote that I did this, the interviewer has the full right to ask you to explain. If you can explain, great. If you can't, how do I trust you? As simple as that. Like, I mean, I won't tell you, oh, I don't trust you. I'll just make an assumption in my head. I think you know what I wanted to say.
And in fact, I've seen one of the interview experience I would share that there was this student who knew a lot of things, who was good with, let's say, C++. It's a real story. He was good with C++. But he had also mentioned the other things. The usual habit of trying to mention almost everything that you know. You might not know in depth, but you have a habit of. So when he went to the interviewer, right, the interviewer saw that there's a Java written in the resume.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I want to add something to that point.
So he was good with Java.
The interviewer. As usual.
The candidate strength was C++, but unnecessarily he has mentioned like Java, Python, everything.
Yeah.
So the entire discussion that got initiated was completely on Java angle, which was not
he prepared for.
He was prepared for. And then the interviewer counter question that why did you even mention it, right? And later a lot of people were rejected because of the same scenario.
Yeah.
Because the interview took a different direction.
Yes, it happens.
And all the fakeness all of a sudden got highlighted.
Yes.
And then there was this entire feedback that floated in the community that everyone who's mentioning the fake skill, please delete it, even if your resume remains the white paper.
Yeah, that's fair actually,
right? And then all of a sudden there was a panic and people started tweaking their resumes. That's how it happened, right? So I think mention as much as you know,
especially with Java.
Yeah,
I want to add that point. Because it has happened with me also. Thankfully, I did know Java fairly well. So even as an interviewer, if I would see Java written on somebody's resume, I would want to ask Java questions, because Java is very predominantly used in the industry and many interviewers know it. And there is a very, very high chance that the company you're interviewing for, maybe the project you might be selected in, is using Java. So if somebody sees Java in a candidate's resume, they have an intention of asking Java questions because it is conceptually very nicely coded language. I won't say that Java is the only language like that. There are other languages also like that, which implement the same concept, but it's easier in terms of Java, which is why I was telling you that in case if you want to start your first programming language, make it C++ or Java. But at the same time, whatever languages you learn, please make sure you mention those only.
Awesome. And I think there's a small recommendation. One factor of being able to stand out in the entire hiring process is make sure you have a clean resume. You mention the things that you're really good with.
Yes.
Only.
Yeah.
And second is how you introduce yourself will decide the entire interview experience.
Oh yeah.
So make sure you introduce yourself with the strengths, so that if there is any counter question, you are dealing with your strengths.
Yeah.
Right.
And also don't lie. Like for example, if somebody asks you a Java question and suppose you forgot to remove Java as your known languages and you're not very good at it, just straightforward tell the interviewer, I'm sorry for your question, but I'm not very, very good at Java. I wrote it because I know some amount of Java, but not fairly very good at it. My strength is C++, so can you please ask me C++ questions if you can?
And they'll be...
Yeah, that will at least take the interview in a direction that is more comfortable for you.
Got it. Awesome. So, Shantanu, if you have to summarize your entire engineering journey, right from spending time in college to probably preparing for job, etc., how would you summarize? Like just one line, one statement.
Never underestimate yourself. Just never underestimate yourself.
Any Toofani memory of college time? Like I had one. I have many, sorry. But one of them is, do you know that Anubhav Bassi wala story?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did.
Okay.
Water cooler फेंका है हमने, geyser फेंका है, right? The reason why we threw is we were frustrated for so many things. The water coolant wasn't functional. We were complaining, and we thought we need some attention here on our floor. So, we literally took out the geyser.
Okay.
Permanent marker. We wrote a lot of
nice things. Nice things.
Yeah, let's replace the word that I was about to say with nice things.
Okay.
We took it to the top floor. The chief warden room was, I think, on the ground floor, and he had that Tata Sky or dish like popping out of his window, and we angled the geyser in such a way that it not only destroys the geyser, obviously it will just boom, but also it takes the Tata Sky along, right?
Okay.
And the next day, we saw that there was this buzz that who did this, who did that. And I also went with a surprising face. Oh my God, who did this? I'm having a discussion with my warden that किसने कर दिया ये? And he's saying यार Anurag पता लगाना है यार, पता लगाना है. I said I'm in with you.
Yeah.
Let me keep my bag, come back, and let's figure out who did it.
Yeah.
So any of such Toofani moment?
Well, it was not as Toofani as yours for sure. But I would say like I did something extremely unethical. So I was writing my 7th semester exam, and it was in April of 2021. That was the time when second wave of COVID was very predominant in the country, and I actually did catch COVID. Now the college rules said, if you have COVID, please report it to the college so that your exams can be scheduled at a later point in time. And I was scared that if I tell the college, they might reschedule my exam at whatever time they are comfortable with, which might even delay my results and blah blah blah. So apparently a lot of people actually got sick. I mean, it's a bad thing for my college to take examinations at that point of time, but anyway, they did it anyway. So a lot of people actually got sick, and they had to be admitted into an hospital. Thankfully, I'm so thankful to God that I did not have to deal with any of those problems. I just was somebody who had lost his sense of smell and taste, and I got fever for 2-3 days, but I was okay. So I was able to study and I was able to write the exam. So I remember outside examination theaters, they would like have this temperature gun, and the moment they see a higher temperature like side, you're taking examinations later. You're going to be putting into quarantine. You're being put into quarantine. So I bypassed that and I wrote an exam, and that's it. Nobody ever knows that I actually got COVID. Only and only after which, so we also had a COVID test done in the college for everybody, which was like something as a service that our college was providing. After exams were over, I was back to home, and then suddenly everybody figures out, oh, Shantanu had COVID. And everybody's like, oh my God, I did come in such a close contact with Shantanu. Did I also get COVID or something like that? So yeah, technically I would have done all of those things that you did in your last year of college, but we didn't get to spend a lot of time during our last year in college because of COVID. So yeah, I'm from that, that damn COVID batch.
I think, I talked to a lot of people, and they share that they missed a lot of things.
Yeah, but I still have one more thing. So I remember I was in my 3rd year of college, and I was, as usual, blasting music in my ears with my headphones. And some random final year senior came to our college. So during those days, sometimes seniors would come to our hostels and mess with us. So everybody went and locked in themselves in the room. Now, because I did put on headphones and I was blasting loud music, of course I didn't hear what's happening. And then my room was open. Suddenly a senior barges into my room and is like, hey, what are you doing? Like, typical senior behavior. And I was like, I'm not going to do a single thing you're telling me. And then he was starting to get mad at me. I'm like, did you get placed? And if yes, what's your package? I just told this much. And I said, if you tell me good numbers, I will respect you by default.
Oh, so that was the attitude.
Yeah, that was the attitude. So I'm like, if you give me the right numbers, and if you tell me if you're placed in the first place, then and only then I will give you the respect that you deserve.
Oh, nice.
And then he had nothing to tell me. I felt like he just went into a revelation mode, like, what am I even doing? And then he just walked out of it.
I hope that gave him a sense of realization and he's doing better today.
I'm not sure. And trust me, I didn't even bother to check up on him. I have more important things to do in life, like having this conversation with you.
So good. So I think people who would watch this later, right, will always aspire from your seeing you. They want to do the same thing. They want to join company like Intuit or have the similar Amazon, Intuit and all of these things. Someone who is planning to, or someone who is in the process of preparing, or they're already doing it. Let's say if someone is looking for an answer, that let's say if I want to prepare for Intuit, right, what are the rounds, or let's say in general, if I say, if someone is aiming for a product based companies, what are the typical rounds of interview process or the hiring process that looks like? If you could walk us through that.
So that depends on what is your seniority level and how many years of experience
let's say it's a fresher SD1 level thing. So what would the typical hiring rounds look like?
So usually it should technically start with an online assessment. So you will have to write an online assessment. where you might come across 2 or 3 coding questions. Usually I've not seen more than 2. 3 is a rare occurrence. 2 is I think an ideal number. So you might have to write a coding assessment with maybe 2 questions. The difficulty will be medium in most cases, but some companies can be a little more tricky and can give you one hard question as well. So medium to hard, but mostly medium. Okay, so once you clear the online assessment, so remember in online assessments, you can be disqualified for even getting one test case wrong. So please make sure that your code runs very well, and which is the same reason, or for this very reason, I was mentioning that you can or you should be practicing your coding skills daily, at least one question a day, because that is going to be the only place where you can mimic the environment of an interview. And apart from that, I would say once the online assessment is clear, then you move into the rounds of interviews. So many companies will take 2 rounds of interviews for somebody who's a fresher. So, and I think both rounds will be data structures and algorithms. One round will be slightly easier, second round will be slightly more difficult. Again, the difficulty level will be medium to hard. For an SE1, I think usually it's going to be medium. In 95% cases, it's going to be medium. But if your interviewer comes with a different mindset, they can give you a hard question as well. After your 2 rounds of interview are over, and if you still have some time left, I have seen some interviewers having a trend to ask questions that are outside DSA around topics of DBMS, which is database management systems, which is that subject you'll be taught in your college, and you don't even need to study anything more than what your college teaches you. So database management systems, basics around that subject, very basics around operating systems, principles, etc. So these 2 things can be asked in the first 2 rounds of interview only. Then you might have a system design round or another technical round. This is usually not going to happen, but some companies just want to keep it, maybe in case if they want to assess you a little bit more. But again, in almost 90% of the cases, you won't see a third technical round. Once you're clear with the 2 technical rounds, which are mostly DSA focused, and maybe in the third round they can also ask you about your projects, about the things you have done, etc, etc. But like I said, it is usually not going to be scheduled, but I am telling you because there is a small chance that it might happen. The last round should be a managerial round. It is called as AA round or hiring manager round, whatever. I mean, different people call it by different names, but this round is said to be non-technical in nature, but that doesn't mean that no technical questions can be asked. A manager can also ask you technical questions. So when I was interviewing for Amazon, in my managerial round also I had to answer a DSA question. When I was interviewing for Intuit, even in Intuit, my manager did ask me a lot of questions around Java. Even when I was interviewing for my previous company, I have seen the pattern of, even in managerial interviews, technical questions being asked. So that can happen for sure. Even when I was interviewing for Microsoft, I still had to deal with technical questions in managerial interviews as well. So it can happen. So I've also heard experiences of other people where they did not get any technical questions asked. So it depends on experience to experience, but I would say be prepared for technical questions. And most importantly, the managerial round is not about how technically sound you are, it's about how great of a team player you can be. So they will ask you situations and questions about how you would react or enact in a certain situation, and they might want an answer from you in a way that is more suitable for the company. So they can give you an example like, what if you had a conflict with another colleague? What if you had a conflict with a senior? What if you had a conflict with your manager? How would you react in that kind of situation? What would you do? There is no right answer to it. So don't come up to me and ask me, well, how to answer this question. There's never a right answer. The right answer is in a way that you actually present your answer. Okay, how considerate you are going to be, how much of the corporate hierarchy you're going to follow, how much of your own instinct you're going to be follow, how impulsive you are, how calculated you are. It's just basically that much. They just want to see if you're a good fit for working in this company, because they've already tested your technical skills. They just now want to see whether you are going to be acting as a good employee, whether you're going to be a good team player for the team, whether you're going to be a nuisance or a person who's easy to work with.
Awesome. So good, so helpful. And on the same line, I also wanted to add that we have been recommending a lot of students to do something like this. Like when you are learning in the coding in the very early days, use a code editor which is not suggesting you or recommending you the next line of code. And after a point when you have acquired the learning of language, switch. If you have been using a code editor which is locally installed in your system, switch to an online code editor. Get used to it, because it comes with the test case concepts and you are testing. So I think because you cannot bypass, or maybe most of the cases, I mean almost 99% of the cases, the first round is an online coding round.
Yeah, definitely.
So make sure you familiarize yourself with these online coding editors, right? Lead Code or HackerRank for that matter.
But I would also like to add one more point. So when an online assessment happens, that is all test case based. But when an interview happens, your interviewer will be okay with the idea of you not writing a code that works.
Yeah.
But your interviewer, what they really want is to understand if you're able to get that concept, whether you're able to think in the right direction. So your interviews are mostly going to be focusing whether you can think in the right direction. So that is going to be more important. So they want to understand your process, how your thought process works, and how you're able to reach to the solution. If you can also write the code, then that's like a final nail in the coffin.
Got it.
That's like everything works fine, everything is perfect, this is the candidate we're going ahead with. Just in case if you're not able to write the code, that's also okay. Many a times when an interview is running out of time, they'll be like, okay, this is the question, tell me, just tell me how you will solve it.
Yeah.
They don't even want you to write the code. They'll just be like, just tell me the approach, what are you going to do, and that's it.
Awesome.
So your interviewer wants to focus on your thought process and how you think. That's more important.
Got it. And there's this constant curiosity in students that what is it like to be a software engineer? What do SDs or software engineers do in company?
Okay.
What language they code?
Okay.
What exactly is software engineer? And they're always juggling between if I'm a full stack developer, am I a software engineer? If I'm a machine learning engineer, am I a software engineer?
Okay.
So there's this constant question around, trying to know exactly how it happens later if I'm selected or if I'm subscribing this journey of preparation. So what is software engineering? What do software engineers do? What is SD? It's all about. So can you emphasize a bit on that part?
So if you're a full stack engineer, yes, you're a software engineer. If you're a machine learning engineer, yes, you're a software engineer. To put this into perspective,
even if you're an app developer, you are a software engineer.
Yes, that's correct. Because an app is also software. Yeah. Right? An app is also software. A web application is also software.
If you're writing a code, you eventually are an engineer, software engineer.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. You can be a data analyst and write a lot of Python code, but you'd still not be a software engineer.
So you have a better answer.
Yeah. So suppose if you are, all of us use Netflix and Spotify, right? Yeah. Sometimes Spotify comes up with with a song suggestion that we really like. It comes up from machine learning algorithm. Now this machine learning algorithm is present inside a software, right? So it is a part of software engineering. It is a part of thinking. It is a part of giving instructions to the machine of how to recommend the right song, right? So machine learning is also part of software engineering. It's one facet of it.
Yeah.
It's like we have, like somebody says, I'm a cook, but I'm an Italian cook, or I cook only Italian food. That doesn't mean that you're not a cook, right? So if somebody is a baker, that means that they can cook. If somebody is a pasta chef, then no, that means they can cook. If somebody knows how to make rotis, they're also cook. If somebody knows how to make dosas, they're also cook. So that's the analogy I like to put into software engineering. As a software engineer in your daily job, what we do is we solve tickets. That's like, I'll just break it down to the most fundamental thing. We solve tickets. We get tickets assigned to us. Sometimes we choose to have we choose what tickets we want to work on, and we solve tickets. Now, what
is it the same Jira tickets people talk about?
But you don't always get to use Jira. Depends on what company you're using and what tool they're using. But yeah, something similar to Jira tickets. Now, for somebody who does not know what are Jira tickets or something similar to Jira tickets, these are basically, in the simplest way, if I have to describe, these are basically tasks that you have to do. Now, when you join or when you are a software engineer, whether app, full stack, backend, front end, machine learning, whatever, you'll be working on some project or maybe more than one project, and that project will have some requirements, some tasks to be finished. These tasks will be mentioned in a ticket, which you will be told about, which you will be informed about, and then you have to perform activities to complete that task. Every task is going to come up with something called as an acceptance criteria. That when should we assume that this task is complete? So you have to move forward in the direction of meeting that acceptance criteria. When it's done, you have actually done it. And in order to meet that acceptance criteria, that is the real place where you're doing the engineering. Sometimes you have to understand how the code is already written. Sometimes you have to write a new piece of code. Sometimes everything is already understood. You have to document it so that other people can understand it. So yeah, it just goes around like that. Sometimes you have to maintain something, sometimes you have to fix something, sometimes you have to create something, sometimes you have to make small changes around something, and sometimes you don't have to do anything, you just have to document what you already know.
Awesome. How's life at corporate? Or how's life in corporate?
Life in corporate is it's a piece of cake that not everybody is going to like. Depends on what flavor of cake you like. For example, people don't like chocolate, but that doesn't mean that everybody hates chocolate. Okay, so when I say it's a piece of cake, it comes with the flavor you may not like.
So, very well put. And there's this what we were talking about, the deal is not becoming rich. The deal is, continue being rich,
yes.
right? So, as a software engineer or as someone working in corporate, right? What should I do to stay relevant for as long as I'm working?
Upskill. That's it. That after that word, there's nothing else I want to say. Yeah, that's it. Upskill.
One $1 million question.
Oh, are you going to give me that? Because I'm going to make my best shot on that question.
Did I overwork?
Maybe you're right. It's fine.
But I'm saying
it's fine. I forgive you. Yeah. I'll answer it for free, just for you. Okay.
But I think there is this concept. Even till date, I visit the campuses and I interact with people. The question has already been answered multiple times by many people. But for some reason, this question keeps coming again and again and again, which is, should we be scared of AI, GPT?
I just knew this question was going to come up because it's been so many times. It has popped up so many times. Yeah.
So
I would say no. I mean, I use ChatGPT in my daily life, and I'm not even ashamed of saying that because that's the right way moving forward. Imagine a time when the clothes that I'm wearing, that you are wearing, once they were hand woven, maybe like 200, 300, 500 years back. Today it's all machine made. Does that mean that there are no humans that can make clothes? No, right? We have humans now who can operate how to use those machines that make clothes, right? It's always about upskilling in the right direction. Today, we are in Bangalore, right? And Bangalore is making a lot of metro. When metro will come, does that mean auto drivers will lose their job? You have lived in Delhi. Delhi has great metro system. Does that mean there are no auto drivers? Does that mean there are no rickshaw pullers?
Not at all.
Does that mean there are no buses?
Nope.
That's just it. You adapt.
Yeah.
You adapt. So if today I travel to my office with, let's say, a cab, but if I have a metro, of course I'll take the metro. But that doesn't mean that bus driver or that cab driver or that auto driver will lose their job.
Yeah.
They won't. They'll just have to upskill and they'll just have to find something that is going to work for them. So it's basically like that. When cars came into picture, of course, a lot of things changed, and only adapting is the right way forward.
Got it.
If you choose not to adapt, you'll become irrelevant.
I'm assuming this is going to be my last question.
Okay.
Until I come up with something else.
That's fine.
But the thing is, today, if given a chance or an opportunity to you to advise your younger self,
okay,
right? The reason why I'm asking this question is because there are people who would be watching this video, and there are people still in college, right? Who are in the journey. So if you get a chance to advise your younger self, right, or the people who are watching, for the journey they are, the engineering journey or the career building journey, what would that advice be?
That advice would be just keep moving ahead. Just keep working on yourself.
Just keep doing what needs to be done.
Yeah. Take criticism constructive, but don't let that criticism break you. Don't let the scrutiny come to you. Don't let it break you. Just keep moving. Just keep doing what you love to do. Just keep doing what you think is right. And most importantly, keep doing what you think is right. It's not important that you have to do something that somebody else is also doing, because that happens a lot in college. like you just follow the herd like a sheep because you think that it's the right way forward because everybody's doing that. But then it might not be true. It might not be right. For example, I also studied C++ like everybody else in my college, but it didn't work out for me. But what worked out for me was Java, which did not work out for a lot of people. So I think that's really important. And in any phase of life, whether you're a college student, whether you're a school student, whether you're a working professional, whether you're a married person, whether you have children, whether you are sick because of some disease, or whether you're the happiest person in the whole world, there will always be scrutiny and criticism with the people who don't matter in your life. Don't let that criticism break you. Just keep doing what you think is right and keep doing what you want to do. That's it.
Awesome. So I would like to share a last line before we conclude this interaction. And I did not wanted to share this because I keep it very private, these lines to myself, and also share specifically when I'm with the students. But I think this line should go out in public as well. This was said by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam on the lines of hard work that you mentioned. कि मेहनत नहीं करने वालों को उतना ही मिलता है जितना मेहनत करने वाले छोड़ जाते हैं. Right? So keep working hard and keep doing what needs to be done, as he clearly mentioned. Right? Things will align automatically.
Yes.
And जब वो opportunity आएगी
तो उसको दोनों हाथ से पकड़ना है,
आराम से पकड़ना. And I think if you have done like enough मेहनत, by then, I mean, automatically you'll be able to seize it.
Yeah, that's very rightly put.
So that was it.
Here we are.
And here we are towards the end. Like all the people backstage who are watching us, they're smiling, laughing. It finally khatam hua. They're waiting कि खाना खा लेते हैं अब, right? Enough is enough. And we have, but I truly, genuinely feel, Shantanu, that this was the most complete podcast, because I think we touched upon almost every aspect of life, journey, career, and it really feels to me like this was the most complete podcast that I did so far.
I enjoyed it as much as you did. Trust me, I did.
Like truly. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll have a dinner.
Let's do it.
We'll have to warm it again.
That's okay. We can do that much hard work.
What is the time? It's still 11:43. Oh, we're not late.
It's Bengaluru. What do you expect?
Yeah, but I think
there's still heavy traffic on the road.
Yeah, but I think thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this, for taking our time, coming all the way.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And bye-bye, everyone.
See you.
Bye.